Tonight, we're doing something a little different, a little darker. So go ahead, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan. Get cozy under your favorite blanket. But not too cozy, because where you're going, there are no blankets. There's no bed, no coffee, no deodorant, no air conditioning, no chance in hell. Tonight you are property. You are a salt mule slave in the middle of the Sahara in 200 BCE, and your day is just beginning. You wake up face down in sand, not just any sand. This sand has teeth. It scratches your lips, your eyelids, your gums. It's already in your lungs. You cough, and it's dry. Of course it's dry. There's no moisture left in you. You dreamt of waterfalls and olive oil of roasted lamb with pomegranate glaze of a voice whispering your name the way your mother used to. But then reality slammed its iron collar back around your neck, and now here you are, waking up to another day of the exact same hell. No sunrise paints your sky with hope. It glares, harsh, brutal. It's not even up yet, and already the horizon feels like it's burning through the soles of your feet. You're barefoot. Of course you're barefoot. Your sandals fell apart weeks ago, and the overseer laughed when you asked for new ones. You've been wrapping your feet in shredded camel dung and whatever bits of rag you can trade for a smile that doesn't get you whipped. You don't smile anymore. You're learning. You try to sit up, but your back is still in negotiation with gravity. It lost yesterday, and it's losing again. The salt bricks, those charming 20-kilo devils stacked in twine on your back like a cruel joke, are still strapped on. You slept with them on. You always do. You don't own the luxury of removing them. Removing them implies rest. This isn't rest. This is pause. A brief intermission in a death march with no final act. Something squelches beneath your hip. You shift and find a dead beetle, crushed in your sleep. You envy it. You smell like old urine-infected wounds and sour bread. That's not metaphorical. You genuinely smell like these things, and it doesn't even register anymore. Your fellow slaves, half-collapsed carcasses, like you groan softly in the pre-dawn gloom. No one speaks. Talking wastes moisture. Talking can get you noticed. Getting noticed gets you pain. The guards are already up sipping their barley beer and laughing in a dialect you don't understand. Maybe it's better that way. They probably think you look funny. Salt-crusted skin ribs poking out like abandoned tent poles. Eyes so sunken they could house spiders. You're not a person. You're a mule. But not even that mules get treated better. Mules don't get left behind when they fall. You try to lick your lips. Big mistake. Your tongue catches on a crack. A deep oozing wound that's starting to taste like rot. There's a fresh ulcer inside your cheek from chewing dried roots. You've learned not to cry. Tears sting. Tears waste water. Tears mean weakness. You roll onto your knees, head down like you're praying. But you're not praying. You're trying not to vomit. Again. Yesterday, you drank from a leather sack that tasted like vinegar and camel afterbirth. They said it was water. Maybe it was 2 days ago. Today, it's a liquid suggestion of regret. You gag, but nothing comes up. You haven't had solid food in over 20 hours. They say you get porridge today. A generous ladle of boiled millet and bone shards. You hope the bone's from a goat. You hope it's boiled long enough to dissolve the splinters. You'd eat it either way. You've eaten worse. You've eaten things you don't talk about. Something sharp digs into your back. The tip of a guard's spear is not even meant to hurt you. It's just encouragement. Time to start the march. 14 more hours of step lurch step under a sun that feels personal. You stumble forward, knees clicking like loose ceramic. A boy next to you doesn't move fast enough. He's probably 14. His foot is mangled. Yesterday a scorpion got him. No one helped. No one ever helps. Today a whip does. It cracks across his back like a broken promise and he screams. The sound is brief. They drag him into line. He'll walk on the bleeding stump or he won't walk again. The desert has rules. You follow or you die. And even that's not guaranteed. You walk. Each step rubs the iron collar against your neck. It's scabbed over. Now it's bleeding again. Your shirt a word that's generous for what's basically a shredded curtain sticks to your back with pus. The sweat comes in waves, hot then gone. Your body's conserving, or failing. You're not sure which is worse. The sun creeps up like a predator, climbing over the dunes until it owns everything. The shadows vanish. You feel exposed. Not metaphorically, your skin is literally peeling off your arms. Blisters that burst 2 days ago are now weeping open sores. Flies hover around you like old friends. You can't swat them. Your hands are busy holding the salt. Always the salt. 20 kilos. Always. You wonder what it's even for. Who needs this much salt? Someone rich, someone Roman maybe, seasoning their dinner, while you walk barefoot across death. Your knees buckle. Not fully just a warning. Your body's sending you the one last invoice. You ignore it. You always do. Your mind wanders. It has to. It's the only freedom you have left. You imagine cool water, thick bread figs. You remember a tree once. Just one. It was green. The leaves shimmered. Was it a dream? You try to picture your mother. Her voice. Her laugh. It's gone. You remember her hands. That's all. Rough like yours. You feel something wet on your lip. Hope no. Blood. Your nose again. The heat makes it leak. You wipe it with your sleeve. The cloth is stiff. Blood, sweat, and something else. Probably not yours. You march. The dunes blur. The sky shimmers. You think about quitting. Not dramatically, just stopping. Falling into the sand. Letting the sun take you. But you don't. You can't. The fear is stronger. The fear of pain. The fear of being dragged. The fear of vultures that don't wait for death. You keep going. One step. Another. Each one a negotiation with pain. You reach the first rest stop, stop, a word that means stand in a circle while the guards piss and laugh. You get one sip of water, warm, metallic, probably someone else's backwash. You drink it like it's holy. You don't know how long you'll last. You don't know where you're going. You just know you're walking, and someone else is eating well because of it. You look up. The sun is barely halfway risen, and you're already dying. You think this was bad. Wait until you see what happens when the fever hits. You start walking again before you even realize you've rested. Your legs move because they know what happens if they don't. They've learned. You no longer control them. The march does. Time loses meaning out here. The sun is your only clock. And it only tells you one thing. It's too late to still be alive. You drag your left foot a little. It started swelling yesterday, maybe from a rock. Maybe from an insect bite. You never saw what bit you. You just woke up with a numb ankle and the distinct sensation that it was no longer part of your body. Now it's purple. That's not good. Purple is rarely good. You keep walking. You tell yourself maybe it's just bruised. Maybe it'll go down. Maybe a fig tree will sprout from the sand and hand you shade and cold honey water. You laugh inside your head. Sarcasm is the only medicine out here. You'd say something out loud, but your lips are crusted over. Every syllable feels like chewing sandpaper with paper cuts. You step wrong. Your vision tilts. The salt on your back shifts. You almost fall. You correct yourself just in time to avoid a spear shaft jabbing into your ribs. One of the guards saw. He gives you that look. Not angry. Not even cruel. Just amused. Like your entertainment. You wonder if this is funny to him. Watching people erode like statues under a firestorm. You keep your head down. You walk. The salt bricks bounce with every footfall, bruising your spine, wearing your shoulder raw through the cloth. You don't dare complain. Last time someone did, they got tied to the back of a camel and dragged half a mile. Their skin came off in pieces. You helped pick up those pieces. You try not to remember their name. It's easier that way. A woman beside you stumbles. She's older. Late 40s, maybe 60, it's hard to tell. Her face is melted leather eyes like shattered glass. She falls hard. The guard doesn't move at first, just watches. The rest of the line keeps going. That's the rule, don't stop. Don't look. Don't care. But you look anyway. Just for a second. She's trying to get up. Her knees are bleeding. Her salt pack slipped off her back and cracked her ribs. You can hear the rattle from here. She doesn't scream. She's past that. She just moans. The guard sighs like someone just dropped a plate. He walks over, unsheathes a knife, and without a word slices the tendon behind her knee. Then he steps back. She won't walk again. She won't crawl. She won't do anything but die in the sand. Slowly, The guard whistles and walks away, wiping the blade on his tunic. The woman doesn't beg. She just lies back and stares at the sky. You keep walking. You don't look back. Looking back is a luxury. You've learned that too. Your mouth tastes like iron. You realize your tongue is bleeding. You bit it when you slipped. You suck the blood. It's warm, familiar. It reminds you of something. A market stall. Spiced lentils. You shake the memory off. No room for that here. That part of you is gone. Another hour passes. Or maybe it's a century. You pass a carcass, camel bones, picked clean skin, still stretched over part of the rib cage. Flies swarm it like a festival. The smell is beyond description. Sweet, sour, rotted sugar in a furnace. You breathe through your mouth. That's worse. Now you taste it. Salt, decay, hot meat, and death. It sticks to your throat like a prayer that never got answered. A man behind you starts wheezing. His breaths sound like a bellows in a dying forge. He tries to say something. You pretend not to hear. That's safer. He grabs your arm. Panic lights up your spine. If the guards see you stop, they won't ask questions. They'll just pick one of you to punish. He's heavy. His eyes are red-rimmed. His lips cracked open like a desert split. Water, he croaks. You look down. He's got none. His skin is grey. His hand is shaking. You shrug him off, not cruelly, not harshly, just enough to stay alive. The guard didn't notice. You're lucky. He's not. 10 minutes later, the man collapses. You don't stop. He's dead before he hits the sand. You think, you don't check. You're smarter than that. Another hour. Your legs are wooden. Your back is on fire. Your mouth is a battlefield. The sun is directly above you now, punching down with full fury. The heat is physical. A presence. A god. It melts the air. The horizon wavers like you're looking through boiling oil. The wind kicks up. That's worse. It's hot wind, like opening an oven door with your face. Sand hits your skin like glass dust. You can't close your eyes blinking. Just grinds the grit deeper into your eyelids. You cough. That hurts. Your chest is dry. Empty. Your lungs crackle. Still you march. You reach the halfway rock. It's not a real rock. It's just a landmark. A pile of bones and a carved stick. Someone jammed into the ground years ago. It means you've walked far enough to die, but not far enough to stop. The guards circle the line. One tosses a water skin on the ground. You get one sip. Maybe, if you're lucky, you shuffle forward. Tongue hanging out like a dog. You kneel to drink. The man in front of you takes too long. The guard kicks him in the throat. He falls. Doesn't get back up. The guard spits. You inch forward, lower your head, tilt the skin. One swallow. Two. You stop. You force yourself to stop. You want to drink it all. You want to hold it in your mouth and swish it like wine. But if you drink too much, they'll beat you. Or kill you. You know how this works. You move away. Another slave replaces you. Another set of lips on the same skin. You don't care. Hygiene is a ghost out here. You find a shadow. Barely a sliver cast by a broken wagon wheel stuck in the sand. You sit. You don't breathe. You just exist. Your heart thuds in your ears like a tribal drum. You think about running. Every rest break, you think about it. You imagine the scene dashing into the dunes, free, naked, wild running until the sun gives up. Or your soul escapes your body. But the truth is you die within hours, or be found, or eaten. You remember the rumors, tribes who wait in the sands to skin escapees alive. Or worse, drag them back. You stay seated. You wait. 5 minutes pass. Maybe 10. The guards grunt. Back to the march. You want to cry? Not out of sadness. Out of sheer exhaustion. Your body is already standing before your mind catches up. Your hands grab the salt. You strap it back on. You take your place. 1 foot forward. Another. The sun climbs higher. And so does your pain. And still, this is only the beginning. You think this was suffering? Wait until you see what dinner looks like. You march. Not like a soldier. Not even like a human. You march like a shadow. An outline of a person erased 1 grain of sand at a time. Your feet bleed with every step. The rags wrapped around them are soaked in pus and dirt. Then baked by heat until they're crusted into your flesh. You try not to think about it. You try not to think at all. Thinking leads to remembering, and remembering leads to wanting, and wanting leads to suffering. You focus on movement. Right, left, right, left. Don't fall, don't fall. That's your entire existence now. Your mind slips floating above your body, looking down at the husk it used to belong to. That creature isn't you anymore. It's an animal in a death pageant. A walking blister hauling bricks of mineral wealth across the skin of a godless desert. You wonder if there's any part of you left to save. You doubt it. The sun begins to tilt westward. Not enough to help. Just enough to remind you that time is moving even if you're not. You pass another set of bones. Human this time. You can tell by the jaw, by the curve of the ribs. Picked clean. Half buried. A warning maybe. Or a joke. Some cruel little decoration left behind by yesterday's version of you. The wind kicks up again, tossing dust into your face. You squint through slitted eyes and catch a glimpse of movement in the distance. Camels. Dozens. They plod along like ships through fire, their pace steady and sure. You envy them. They eat. They drink. They rest. You saw one lie down last week. Just folded itself into the sand, like it owned the world. The guards let it. You can't remember the last time someone let you lie down without punishment. Your spine curves forward under the weight of the salt. Every muscle screams. Your lower back spasms. You think your left shoulder has dislocated again. You popped it back in last time by slamming into a dune. You don't think you'll get that lucky again. You begin to smell something. Something different. Something not you. It's food. Not your food. Their food. The guards are eating. You hear the sizzle fat dripping into fire meat roasting on spit. The smell hits you like a hallucination. You nearly stagger. You can see it lamb maybe, or goat. Rich, greasy, spiced with cumin, or something darker. You smell it before you see it. Then you spot them. The guards seated around a fire they built using dung and thorn branches. One of them holds a roasted leg in his fist, tearing into it with yellow teeth. Grease runs down his arm. Another laughs, with his mouthful pointing at something behind you. Probably one of the newer slaves collapsed in the dust. A third pours wine into his mouth from a goatskin. It dribbles down his chin. None of them offer you anything. They never do. The fire cracks. The fat hisses. You salivate so hard your cracked lips reopen and begin to bleed again. It mixes with the salt, and you taste your own body disintegrating. You think about rushing them, just once, just to grab a bite even if it means death. You know it would mean death, but that smell, it's not just food. It's memory, home, warmth, safety, things you forgot you could miss. Someone beside you can't take it. A boy maybe 16, skin burnt leather dark, stumbles toward the fire like he's in a trance. He mutters something. You don't understand the language. Maybe no one does. It sounds like begging. It sounds like prayer. The guards pause. One of them stands slowly. There's no warning. No drama. Just a stone thrown hard and fast straight into the boy's face. He drops instantly. Crumples like a broken reed. Blood pools beneath him. No one checks if he's dead. No one moves. You keep walking. A few steps later, you forget his face. The sun sinks lower. The temperature drops slightly, but not enough to save you. Just enough to let your body focus on new ways to hurt. Your stomach cramps violently. You haven't eaten since yesterday. A bowl of gruel so thin it tasted like regret. Now your gut feels like it's digesting itself. You bend slightly instinctively, as if curling in pain might trick the emptiness into going away. It doesn't. You pass a dried up water hole, nothing left but cracked mud and the bones of a crow. One of the newer slaves cries out. You flinch at the sound. It's raw animal unfiltered. The cry of someone who still believes crying might change something. You want to tell them it won't. Save your breath. Save your tears. The only thing the desert listens to is death. You reach the next rest spot. It's not a camp. It's a circle of stones. That's it. Just stones. Hot stones. You drop to your knees. The salt sack slams against your back and knocks the air from your lungs. You slump forward. You don't fall, not completely. That would mean they win. You stay up. Barely. A hand reaches toward you. You flinch. But it's just the water skin again. Same one. Same taste. Same warm, metallic, disease-riddled sip. You drink. You give it back. You sit still. Your breath shakes. You stare at the sand. It doesn't stare back. It doesn't care. The guards talk softly to each other. They're planning something. Routes, maybe. Or punishments. You tune it out. You think of nothing. You've become good at that. Becoming empty is the only way to survive. Something scurries across your hand. You look down. A beetle. Fat. Glossy. It pauses. Looks at you. Well, it doesn't look, but it feels like it does. You move your other hand. Slowly. You trap it. You lift it to your lips. Your stomach begs. You hesitate. Then you eat it. Crunch. Swallow. It tastes like earth and poison and shame. But it was real. You ate. That means you're still alive. You hear the whistle. Time to go. You groan as you rise. You hear others groan too. A chorus of the damned. Sot goes back on. Your body forgets the pain. It's become too constant. Now, it's just part of the air. Like the heat. Like the stench. Like the knowledge that no one is coming to save you. You start walking. Again. You're not sure how much longer today will last. But it's not over. Not even close. You think this was the worst of it. Wait until the night comes and the desert really starts to talk. Part 2. The march begins. You're still moving. You don't remember starting again, which means your body's taken over, marching on instinct, on dread, on the thudding knowledge that stopping equals punishment, or worse. The sun has dipped just slightly now, maybe 20 degrees off its noontime throne. And the sand no longer sizzles with quite the same malice. But don't get excited. It's still hot enough to cook meat if you laid it on a flat rock. In fact, you suspect that's what the guards did with that fish last week. The one that made everyone shit blood for 2 days. The light has softened, but the heat hasn't left. It just settled into your bones. It's like walking through a dry fever. You can feel the sun behind you pushing you forward like an executioner with a hand on your back, one foot after the other. The rhythm of death. The wind picks up again. And this time, it's carrying sand and small grit. The kind that works its way into your teeth and lashes and ear canals. You try covering your mouth with your tunic, but that's a joke. It's been stiff with salt sweat and blood for weeks now. It's more crust than cloth. The wind doesn't care. It just screams past your ears like a mother who's already given up on you, dragging 100 million particles of ancient seabed across your face until you feel like you're being exfoliated by vengeance itself. You don't bother wiping your eyes. The tears dried up days ago, maybe weeks. You've lost all sense of time out here. There's only light and darkness and the in-between purgatory where you march and try not to die. The camel behind you snorts, spraying mucus onto your neck. You flinch. You always flinch. Camels don't care. Camels are gods out here. They get water, food, shade, respect. You're not even livestock. You're the thing that feeds the machine. You're what the guards call loss allowance. You trip over a ridge in the sand, stagger, catch yourself. The salt bricks lash against your back like a cruel pendulum. You grunt quietly. Don't make noise. Don't show weakness. A guard turns your way. You straighten. You march. A few paces ahead, someone isn't so lucky. He stumbles, falls fully this time, and when he tries to rise, his legs fold like wet parchment. His salt sack rolls off. Everyone keeps moving. That's the rule. You don't break formation. You don't look. The guards arrive seconds later. One doesn't even dismount. He just loops a rope around the fallen man's neck and ties it to his saddle. The camel moves forward. The man is dragged. For how long doesn't matter. Eventually, the body stops resisting. You keep walking. You don't process it. If you process it, you'll shatter. And there's no time for shattering. A few hours pass. Or maybe it's half a day. The sun starts dropping like it's tired of watching. The shadows return long, thin, creeping across the sand like fingers trying to pull you underground. And then comes the breeze. At first, it feels like mercy. Cool, gentle. But it carries with it the early signs of night sudden chills. The whisper of cold that burrows under your skin just to mock you. Your sweat cools too fast and your body begins to shake. It's a sick irony. Hours ago you were boiling alive now. You're freezing under a sky that still looks like fire. You trudge over a dune. On the other side you see it, the skeleton of an old caravan camp. half-rotted posts, the remains of a tarp, a few clay pots shattered by time. This is where you'll rest. Not sleep. You don't sleep. You collapse. You rot. But first firewood. A guard points. You and 3 others are sent to scavenge. You don't ask where. You just shuffle off into the dunes trying to remember what wood even looks like. It's rare out here. You find a thorn bush. Half-dead bones tangled in its roots. Probably some other group's slave. Maybe from your own caravan 5 months ago. Who knows? You break the branches with your bare hands, earning a few fresh cuts across your palms. The blood is thin, almost pink. You don't bleed like a person anymore. You carry the thorns back and dump them in a pile. The guards light it with camel dung and oil. The fire coughs black smoke. It smells like old death and burnt flesh. You sit close, not too close. You want warmth, but the smoke is poison. Your lungs already sound like crushed gravel. You try to breathe shallow. A bowl gets passed around porridge again, if you can call it that. It's more like warm spit mixed with spoiled grain. You take your handful. Yes, your handful. No bowl, just a glob slapped into your palm. You eat it without chewing. Chewing hurts. Your teeth are loose. Gums, black at the edges. One of your molars fell out 2 nights ago. You swallowed it. You were too tired to spit. The porridge is warm. That's something. It sits in your belly like a whisper of life. For a few seconds you feel almost human. Then someone throws up beside you. Too fast, bad batch. Or maybe dysentery. They don't stop eating. They scoop another handful with shaking fingers. You do the same. Stars begin to appear overhead. Bright, sharp, too sharp. You hate them. They look like eyes. Watching, judging, remembering who you used to be. You don't want to be remembered. You don't want to exist. You finish eating and lie back on the sand. There's no mat, no blanket, no tent. Just you, the cold and the salt sack you're still tethered to. You curl into a ball trying to make yourself smaller. Like it'll help trap the heat. It doesn't. But pretending helps. Pretending is all you have. Someone is crying nearby. A woman, young. She tries to be quiet. You hear her breath stutter. A few minutes later it stops. Maybe she fell asleep. Maybe something else happened. You don't ask. Asking is dangerous. You stare up at the stars and feel your heartbeat slow. The desert is whispering now. Not with wind, with silence. A silence so deep it feels like the world is holding its breath, waiting for you to disappear. You start to drift. Not sleep, just that floaty space where pain dims enough to let you hallucinate. You think of water, a stream, a tree, someone's arms, a song your mother sang. You think of figs. You hate figs. You still dream of them. A shape passes over the stars. A bird, a god, a memory, doesn't matter. It's gone. You feel your own breath fog in the air, and for a moment you almost laugh. This place is so absurd, so cruel, so stupid. You're carrying salt across a land that turns you into salt. You close your eyes. Tomorrow is another march, another body, another rock, another mile toward a destination that doesn't want you. You think you've survived the worst? Wait until the infection sets in. Wait until the blood in your feet starts to boil. Wait until you see what sunrise looks like with a fever. You wake up gagging on your own breath. The cold hit you sometime during the night, curled around your ribs like a wet snake slipping into the hollow spaces your soul used to occupy. Your throat swollen. Your chest feels packed with sand. Every breath scrapes. You cough and nothing comes out but dry noise and a metallic taste. Blood maybe, or dust. You stop trying to tell the difference. You're lying on your side in a shallow depression in the sand. Your body curled around the salt like it's a dying pet. You slept like that, hugging it. Because if you let go, someone might take it. Not because they want it, but because they want to live another hour. The guards say if you lose your salt load, you carry rocks. And if you lose those, you're nothing. And nothing doesn't get water. You push yourself up. Your arms scream. Your shoulders are stiff. Your spine feels fused. And your right eye won't open all the way. There's a crust there, salt pus. Dried tears, who knows. You wipe it with the back of your hand and flinch. A blister popped overnight and left a wet hole in your palm. You pull your tunic sleeve down to avoid looking at it. The fire from last night is gone, leaving only black smudges on the sand and the faint stink of burnt dung. Around you, people rise slowly, or try to. One man isn't moving. He's lying face up, eyes open, lips parted. Flies dance on his face like it's a feast. You watch a guard approach him with the practiced apathy of someone who's done this 100 times. He nudges the body with his foot. Nothing. He nods. Another guard steps in. Ties the ankles, drags him toward the dunes. No one says a word. A few people glance his way. Most don't. You don't. You've seen enough dead eyes to fill a scroll. The salt gets strapped on again. It's not even ceremonial anymore. It's like brushing your teeth back in the old world. Automatic, dull, mandatory. You wince as the rope digs into your shoulder. The wound there is fresh. Last night, while shifting in your sleep, you tore open the scab. It's bleeding again. You say nothing. There's no such thing as injury here. Just weakness. You join the line. The march begins. Today's pace is faster. The guards are agitated, maybe behind schedule, maybe short on rations, maybe just bored. One of them rides back and forth along the line, barking commands in a tongue you only half understand. The words don't matter. The tone does. It means move faster. It means don't fall. It means pain if you disobey. You limp. Your ankle has ballooned overnight. It throbs with every step, sending lightning bolts of fire up your leg. You try to walk normally, but your foot keeps catching. A guard notices. His eyes narrow. He rides past you but doesn't speak. You breathe a little faster. That's worse than a beating. It means he's watching. You pass a ridge and see nothing but sand, stretching forever. There's no landmark, no tree, no rock, no promise of shade. Just dunes upon dunes, like the gods emptied 1,000 graveyards and let them collapse into waves. The sun is back now, climbing with its slow, inevitable smugness. You feel it in your pores before you see it. The heat returns not sudden but steady, relentless. It wraps around your neck like a noose and squeezes. By midday, it's unbearable again. Your mouth is dry, your tongue thick and furry. You suck on your own lip, hoping for some hint of moisture. It splits open. Blood trickles down your chin. You taste rust. You swallow it anyway. You think about the last time you drank cold water. You don't remember. You try harder. There was a stream, maybe. A spring. You knelt beside it. Your brother laughed and pushed you in. You both got soaked. Your mother scolded you, then handed you dried apricots. That might have been a dream. You don't have a brother. The sun climbs higher. You hallucinate. You see cities in the heat shimmer, towers made of stone and bread. Women with olive skin and soft hands. A pool so clear it reflects the stars. You blink. Gone. Just sand. Just fire. Just more of the same. A woman ahead of you collapses. Not old. Maybe 30. She's been silent for days. No one knows her name. She drops without a sound. Her salt bricks land on her back, pinning her to the ground. She doesn't get up. 2 guards approach. They don't speak. One lifts her head. Her eyes are moving, still alive. That's inconvenient. They argue. One suggests leaving her. The other disagrees. Too valuable. They beat her. You flinch with every strike, not because of empathy, but because pain has become contagious. After the 3rd hit, she coughs and moves. They laugh. One of them pisses on her, then walks away. She gets up. She lifts her salt. You wonder how. Then you realize she doesn't know either. You keep walking. You lose yourself again. Hours melt away. The sun never stops. It's like time and heat have merged into a single force, dragging you forward, stripping you down, whispering that this will never end. Your vision blurs. You trip again. This time you don't fall, but you feel your toenail snap. You hiss through your teeth. It's the big one. It's gone. You know it. You won't look. If you look, you'll scream. And if you scream, they'll hear. And if they hear punishment, you walk on. The pain is so sharp it feels cold. Like ice. Ice. You'd kill for ice. You'd kill for the idea of ice. Eventually, the sun begins to drop. Not enough to matter. Just enough to mock you. Your feet are bleeding. Your throat is swollen shut. Your hands are shaking. And your mind is drifting again. This time you remember music. Something soft. Flute, no voice. A song. A lullaby. You hum. You stop. Too risky. No sound. No self. Just salt and sand. Someone collapses. You don't look. Another dies. You step around them. You smell something new, something like roasted bone. You realize it's your own skin. Your back has blistered through the tunic and the fabric fused to the burn. You can't tell where the cloth ends and the wound begins. You march anyway. The caravan slows. You reach a plateau, a flat expanse of white sand dotted with bones. That means another camp. You sag in relief. Relief is a trap. The guards bark orders. Unload the salt. Form a circle. Sit. You drop the bricks. Your knees follow. You collapse. Not all the way, just enough to rest. Someone hands you a bowl. You don't see who. You don't care. You drink it without tasting. It's warm, grainy, bitter. Probably water filtered through camel intestines. Doesn't matter. It's wet. You cry for a second, not out of sadness, out of gratitude. Then your eyes stop working again. You close them, just for a moment. The stars are coming, but they don't bring peace. You know that. You're not naive anymore. The stars are just a reminder that there's nowhere to go, nowhere to run. You're halfway through a death march in a land that eats souls and shits bones. You try to sleep. Your ankle is throbbing. Your mouth tastes like mold. Your shoulders are raw meat. You curl tighter. Tomorrow is worse. Tomorrow always is. You think you know pain? Wait until the wounds get infected. Wait until the salt leaches into your blood. Wait until your own body starts to rot before you've even stopped breathing. You don't remember falling asleep. You just remember the moment after, when your eyes snap open, and the world around you feels different, wrong. Like it shifted without your permission. The stars are still overhead, distant and careless. But now they seem sharper, somehow crueler. The fire's out. The guards are whispering. The sand beneath your spine has gone cold and hard, pressing into every sore like it's trying to replace your bones. You breathe shallowly. Your chest is tight. The kind of tight that tells you you're not just tired, you're breaking down. There's a burning in your lungs now that wasn't there yesterday, and a deep, wet rattle that doesn't belong in a living thing. You know what it is. You've heard it in others. First comes the cough, then the fever, then the shivers, then nothing. You sit up slowly, careful not to disturb your shoulder where the rope has chewed through your flesh. You glance around. Figures sleeping, if that's the word for it. Hunched forms curled like dry leaves, some shivering, some stiff. A few aren't breathing. You see a woman's head tilted back, at an unnatural angle, mouth agape. Eyes open to the stars like they're demanding an answer. There won't be one. You know that now. You stopped believing in divine fairness somewhere around the third lash mark. Your legs feel like splintered wood as you rise, knees creaking back screaming. The salt bricks still sit beside you, as they always do. You hate them. You hate them like you used to hate schoolwork, or long lines at the market, or the neighbor who played the lute at dawn, back when you were human. Now the bricks are part of you, a tumor with corners, a tumor with weight. You hoist them back onto your spine and grunt as the rope bites back into your shoulder, reopening the gash there with the tenderness of a knife through fruit. The blood's sticky, warm. It mixes with the dried sweat and grime, and creates a new layer of something between flesh and filth. It doesn't matter. You're already infected. The march begins again, before the sky even lightens. The guards don't speak today. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they've grown bored. Or maybe they know what comes next. You don't know it yet. But by the end of this segment of your life, you'll beg to die. You'll beg in silence with your body, because your mouth will no longer work. You start walking limping hard now, the ankle beyond swollen. You look down and realize your foot is twice its normal size. The skin is stretched tight, shiny, discolored. The nail you lost yesterday has turned black at the root. You ignore it. You have to. The sun is late, but you can feel it building behind the horizon, like something crouched getting ready to leap. When it finally does, the heat arrives all at once. Not like a sunrise, but like a punishment. You blink into it. Your pupils retreat. Your skin bristles. The temperature shoots up with a kind of casual violence, and within minutes the air is too thick to breathe. You take shallow, ragged gulps. The march picks up speed. The guards bark again, now louder. They've decided to press harder today. You don't ask why. You don't care. You just move. The sand has begun to shift beneath your feet. The dunes here are soft and treacherous. Every step dragging your leg backward a few inches. It's like trying to walk uphill in mud made of ash. You slip. The salt bricks slide. You catch yourself with your hands and scream quietly as your raw palms grind into the sand, reopening the scabs that never had a chance to close. The salt digs into your back. You get up. You keep going. A man beside you stops. Just stops. He doesn't fall. He just stands there staring at the ground. His eyes are glazed. His lips are blue. He drops his bricks. His shoulders slump. One of the guards walks over and without a word bashes him in the temple with a flat stone. The man falls like a tree, stiff and slow. The salt is picked up by another slave before the dust settles. That's the rule. You never let salt go to waste. It's more valuable than you. Always has been. Always will be. You pass his body. You step on his hand by accident. It's still warm. By midday you're seeing shapes again. Not people, not animals, things. Your brain is inventing friends to distract you from the pain. You see your mother holding out a pomegranate. You see a dog you used to feed with scraps under the table. You see a woman you once loved. Maybe you see yourself clean whole smiling. That's the most disturbing one. The sun sits overhead like it owns the world. Your tongue swells in your mouth. You try to spit. You can't. Nothing comes out. You think about opening your wrist just for a drop. You trade blood for water in a second. You reach the resting rock, a small pile of stones beside a dead tree stump. You remember this place. You've passed it before. Maybe this is a loop. Maybe the desert is a closed circuit, and you're just walking in a circle toward your own extinction. You drop your salt. You fall. You breathe shallow. Someone offers you water. You reach for it, but your hand is shaking too badly. They pour it into your mouth. Most of it spills. You cry. Silently, your body starts to tremble. It's not cold. It's the fever. You feel it rising now like a slow tide wrapping your limbs in fire. You lean forward and vomit. Nothing but bile. Your stomach is a deflated wineskin. A guard laughs. You close your eyes. You drift. The world tilts. You're slipping into the sickness now. It's wrapping around your brain like fog. You can't focus. You hear a buzzing sound. Is it flies? Or just your ears? You lie back. You don't care about the sand. It's soft. Softer than your bed at this point. You start to sing a song. No words. Just a hum. Someone hits you. You jolt upright. The march resumes. You don't know how you stand, but you do. The salt is back on your back. The pain is distant now. Everything is distant. You walk. Your feet barely touch the ground. You float. You're in two places now, here in this desert, and somewhere else. Somewhere cold. Somewhere dark. Somewhere kind. You smile. The guard sees you smile. He hits you. You fall. You laugh. You laugh because it's all so ridiculous. You're dying for salt. Salt. You laugh again. He hits you harder. The blood from your nose tastes like brine. You don't get up this time. Not right away. You rest your face against the ground and whisper a thank you. To who doesn't matter. You're grateful to be horizontal. You hear someone say your name. That's odd. You haven't heard it in weeks. Maybe longer. You look up. No one's looking at you. The sun flickers. The world blurs. Your vision narrows to a tunnel. You stand. Somehow, you walk. Somehow, you keep moving. Because what else is there? You march with the fever now. It holds your hand. It sings in your ear. It promises rest, but not yet. First, you still have to survive one more night. And you thought this was bad. Wait until you see what happens when the wind turns cold and the dreams start bleeding through your skin. Part 3. What's left of your body. The first thing you feel is the itching. That special kind of itch that lives deep in the skin, not on the surface like a mosquito bite or a dry patch of scalp, but down in the layers underneath, everything tucked somewhere between your sweat glands and your last shred of dignity. You're half awake when it hits you, and for a brief stupid moment you think it's just the salt. Maybe some crystals rubbed under your armpits or your shirt twisted in the night and bunched up against a healing scab. You reach up to scratch, and that's when your fingers find movement. Not imagined, real, crawling, alive. There's something in your hair. No, not something. Lots of somethings. And you're not surprised. Not really. You've been noticing it for days now. The tiny black flecks at the edge of your tunic. The way your scalp tingles long after the wind stops blowing. But this morning they've declared war. Lice. Full-blown biblical plague-style infestation. You sit up groaning, half delirious from fever, and half paralyzed by the sheer hopelessness of it all. Your sweat has turned sour. Your skin is covered in a film of something that smells like curdled goat milk. Your tunic is glued to your back. You try peeling it off, and a layer of skin comes with it. The itching spreads behind your ears, down your neck, across your chest. It's like your whole body is being chewed alive by invisible mouths. You scratch hard. It doesn't help. It only spreads the filth from your fingernails across raw flesh. You don't care. You scratch anyway, because there are no mirrors out here. No rules about hygiene or vanity or holding yourself together. You gave up on pride somewhere back in part 1. The camp is stirring. Bodies rise like corpses, reanimated, slow and stiff and barely functional. A child coughs a wet rasp like gravel being stirred in soup. Someone else vomits. A man lets out a long groan that turns into sobbing, and then back into silence. You wonder if he's trying to remember who he was. You wonder if you should too. You stand slowly, unbuckle the salt load with fingers that don't want to bend, and retie it across your shoulders. The rope digs in. It always does. But today it stings more because the skin there is blistered and starting to rot. You can feel it when you shift the squish of soft tissue under the scabs, the warmth of something festering inside. You don't tell anyone. No one wants to hear about your infection. Everyone has their own. The guards bark, and you line up. The sun hasn't even shown itself yet, but you can feel the day boiling beneath the surface of the sky. It's the kind of dawn that gives no comfort, just a warning. The heat is coming. The pain is coming. The march is coming. You glance down at your legs. Your ankles are swollen. Your right calf is streaked with red, a sure sign of blood poisoning, but it doesn't feel like much anymore. The fever's been with you long enough that it's become background noise, a kind of low thrum under your skin that pulses with every heartbeat. You take your first step. It feels like your bones are made of gravel. You hobble forward, joining the shuffle. The sand is soft here, too soft. You sink with each step, dragging yourself like an insect through sugar. It would be easier to crawl. You almost do. But crawling shows weakness. Crawling invites death. So you walk. You keep your head down. Eyes on the feet in front of you. That's your world now, those feet. Cracked, blackened, missing nails covered in open sores. A perfect mirror of your own. Occasionally, they stumble. Occasionally, they vanish. But mostly, they just keep moving, dragging their broken owner across the hellscape like it's their only job. You envy them. They don't have to think. You don't hear the screams until you've walked a few miles. They start small behind you, like someone crying in a dream. Then louder. Real. Wet. You turn your head. A boy is clawing at his face. Something's wrong with his eyes. They're red. Swollen. One of them is bleeding. You don't know why. You don't ask. A guard rides over and knocks him to the ground. The boy doesn't stop screaming. They drag him out of line and disappear over the next ridge. You never see him again. You walk on. The lice itch more now. Or maybe you just notice them more because you're trying not to notice the pain in your abdomen. Something's twisting in there. Could be parasites. Could be dysentery. Could just be your body giving up. You want to stop. You want to sit down and dig the lice out with a stick. Rip your tunic open and peel off the skin. Let the sun bake your guts until they stop making noise. But you don't. Because the man 2 rows ahead tried that yesterday. And now his skull is part of the landmark rock that everyone steps over without comment. Your shoulders throb. Your back is soaked. The salt has rubbed you raw, the wounds weeping through the fabric, mixing with the old crust to form something sticky and hot. You hear someone mumbling behind you, praying, whimpering, speaking in a language you don't understand, but feel like you once knew. It's comforting for a moment. Then they start screaming. You keep moving. The sun is fully up now, glaring at you like a disappointed parent. You cough. You taste blood. You're not surprised. You feel a lurch inside your gut and realize you're going to shit yourself. You step out of line just long enough to squat behind a dune. What comes out is black and green. It steams. You wipe with sand. It burns. When you return to the march, no one looks at you. No one wants to see the things we become. When survival is the only rule, the next few hours are a blur. Heat, march, blisters, blood, flies in your mouth. You try to remember a song, a prayer, a joke, anything. But your brain is too full of fire and bile. You begin to hallucinate again. This time it's your childhood room. A blanket, a bowl of fruit, a face that might have been your sister's. The hallucination fades as soon as someone falls next to you, face first, with a soft thump and a spray of blood from the mouth. They don't get up. No one picks them up. By afternoon, the wind starts again. Not the gentle wind from last night. This is the hot wind, the scouring kind. It comes from the east across dunes so dry they crack underfoot. It hits your skin and you flinch. It carries dust, the kind that cuts. It scours your open wounds, your eyes, your cracked lips. It tears into your ears and makes your nose bleed. You want to scream, but screaming means air, and air is too precious. You close your mouth and taste the copper. You lean forward into the wind and walk. Somewhere behind you a camel collapses. That's rare. Camels don't drop. Everyone stops. The guards shout. The caravan breaks rhythm. The owners bark commands. You drop your salt and stand there too stunned to move. The animal is twitching. Its legs won't work. It foams at the mouth. Heat stroke. The same thing killing you, but faster. One of the owners walks over and slits its throat. No hesitation. No ceremony. The blood spills into the sand like spilled wine. The body thrashes. Then stop. Someone mutters a curse. The guards bark again. The march resumes. You lift your salt. You keep going. But something inside you has shifted. That camel had food, water, shade, care, and it still died. What does that say about you? You walk into the wind and wonder how many more hours you can take. Your lice itch harder. You bleed from your ears. Your vision pulses. Your bones grind. You forget your name again. That's fine. You don't need it. You're not a person. You're a salt mule, and you're not even the good kind. You think this is unbearable. Just wait. Wait until the fever climbs higher, and your own skin starts to peel off in sheets. Wait until someone chews through your food while you're still holding it. Wait until you realize there's no destination at all. Just more marching, more dying, and more salt. Always more salt. The wind doesn't stop. It howls now louder than before, like a dying god screaming through a cracked throat. The sand tears across your face in sheets, finding every open pore, every nick, every gash, and packing it with rage. You try to shield your eyes with your hand, but you can barely lift your arm anymore. The salt is crushing your spine like a slow, silent hammer, grinding your vertebrae one grain at a time. Your fingers twitch with nerve pain that doesn't feel like pain anymore, just a reminder that you're not dead yet. You've learned that hurts the most, still being alive. You squint against the dust. The world is a blur of beige and red, now swirling like some demonic stew pot, sand devils rising and vanishing across the horizon. You think you see figures dancing in the storm, thin, long-limbed things made of bone and shadow. But when you blink, they're gone. Or maybe they were never there. You've been seeing things since before you stopped sleeping. Everyone has. You start to notice that your skin's doing something new. The top layer is peeling, flaking off in ragged curls from your arms, your neck, even your shins. Sunburn, sure, but this is different. This is deep. You press your palm against your thigh and watch as a sheet of skin lifts like parchment. Underneath it's shiny and red and damp. You think about that for a while, not because it scares you, but because you're not sure if it's normal anymore. Maybe this is what skin does after enough time under a 50-degree sky. Maybe you're molting. Maybe you're becoming whatever comes after human. The person next to you stumbles and grabs your shoulder for balance. Instinct takes over you. Twist away violently, and they nearly fall. They're whispering something, a chant maybe in a tongue you don't recognize. Their breath smells like rot and bile. You smell like a tomb yourself, but theirs is fresher, You both keep moving, neither of you looking at the other again. That's the rule. Eye contact is too close to empathy, and empathy is a resource you can't afford. You feel your body shifting its priorities. It's no longer interested in full functionality. It just wants to keep the lights on, so it shuts things down. One nostril clogs, completely crusted over with dried blood and dust. One eye starts leaking fluid that smells wrong. Your legs alternate between numb and screaming. Your hunger's gone now. Not even a memory. Just a hollow place where once you used to want things. All that's left is thirst. A brutal, sharp, desperate thirst that lives behind your ribs like a starving animal. You imagine licking the sweat off your arm, but there's no sweat left. You haven't perspired in hours. You're drying out, desiccating like meat. You think about mummies, not the wrapped kind, the real kind, the desert kind, the accidental kind. You picture yourself buried shallow in the sand, your jaw locked open, eyes half closed, a bird pecking at your tongue. You imagine people finding you years from now, digging you up and calling you an artifact. But they won't, because no one is coming here. There's nothing here to find, just salt and sorrow. The guards call for a break, and you drop to your knees like a puppet with its strings cut. Your whole body sighs. Not relief, more like surrender. You lean forward, arms trembling, mouth agape, drool you didn't know you had sliding down your chin. Someone hands you water, the same goatskin sack, the same foul taste. You drink anyway. You drink like it's sin and salvation, and all the things in between. You cough. Some of it comes back up. You hold it in your hands and drink it again. You don't think, you just survive. You glance around and see a man curled on his side shaking violently. Malaria, or heat stroke, or both. One of the guards kicks sand over him. That's the new burial ritual. You earn it by being too much trouble. The break ends. You haul the salt back on your shoulders. You don't scream this time. You're past that. You just wince and move. The wind shifts direction again, slamming into your back. Now pushing you forward like it too wants this to end. You march, vision narrowed to a slit. Your eyelids are swollen. Your lips have cracked so deeply you think they might split in half. Every step is fire. Every breath is a dare. A young girl in the line ahead of you drops to her knees. No one helps her. A guard shouts, then lifts his whip. It cracks across her shoulders. She doesn't move. It cracks again. Still nothing. He shrugs and walks away. The girl doesn't get up. Her breathing slows. You count 10 breaths. Then none. You think her name was something with an S. You keep walking. By mid-afternoon, the wind dies. The silence it leaves behind is worse. You hadn't realized how much it masked. Now all you hear is the slap of feet, the grind of salt, the wheezing of bodies decaying while still vertical. Your own breathing is ragged and erratic. You cough again, and something thick comes up. You spit. It's black. You don't look at it again. The guards call for another stop. This time near a pile of rocks that might once have been a road marker. You slump down. Your legs twitch involuntarily. Your shoulders throb with every heartbeat. You reach under your tunic to scratch your side and your fingers come back wet. You lift your shirt and find a hole, a wound you didn't notice. Something has burrowed into your skin. Maybe an insect, maybe infection. Maybe you're falling apart faster than you thought. You laugh, quietly. The person next to you stares. You don't care. It's funny. The salt on your back could preserve meat for years, and here you are rotting in real time. You close your eyes. You tell yourself it's just a rest, not sleep. Never sleep. But the dark creeps in fast. You see things, faces, places, cool water, clean sheets, the soft weight of someone's hand on yours. You know it's not real. You don't care. You lean into the hallucination. The voice in your head is soft, gentle. It says your name, over and over. You like that. You had forgotten it. The whistle blows. The break is over. You scream on the inside, but your body stands. It always does. It always obeys. You lift the salt. You take one step, then another, and another. The desert stretches ahead like an unfinished thought, waiting for you to finish dying. You think the worst is over. Not yet. The fever hasn't peaked. The rot hasn't spread. You haven't lost your mind completely. But you will. Oh, you will. You've started talking to yourself. Quietly, under your breath, in between footfalls. The words don't make sense, not anymore. Half prayers, half curses. Fragments of songs you haven't heard in years. A lullaby, a market chant, a whispered goodbye. The sound of your own voice reminds you that you still exist, even if barely. You're not sure if that's a blessing or a mistake. Your fever is worse now. You feel it burning behind your eyes, pooling in your joints, turning your blood into sludge. Each step is slower, heavier, but the caravan doesn't stop for the sick. It doesn't slow for the dying. The pace quickens instead, like it's trying to outrun something. You wonder what, maybe they've heard rumors. Maybe another caravan disappeared. Maybe there's a sandstorm coming. Or maybe the salt masters are impatient for their delivery and have threatened the guards with the same punishment they give to you. Dehydration, mutilation, obscurity. You don't think about that too long. Your mind can't hold on to thoughts. They slip through your skull like water through a broken pot. You start counting your steps again. It's the only way to measure time. You get to 200, then forget what comes next. You start over. Someone falls. You don't stop. Someone screams. You flinch, but keep moving. One of the guards yells something about distance, about discipline, about gods who hate the lazy. You believe him. You feel hated, cursed, designed for suffering. You trip on a root. Yes, a root. The only one you've seen in days. It's poking through the sand like a middle finger from the earth. You hit the ground hard. Mouth filling with grit, teeth jarring loose. The salt bricks tumble off your back and land beside you like indifferent relatives at a funeral. You don't move. For a second, you just lie there, cheek pressed to the sand, eyes open to the endless sky. It's blue, beautiful even, a painter's dream. You hate it. A shadow passes over you. The whip is coming. You know it. You brace, but it doesn't come. A guard crouches beside you instead. That's worse. When they take interest, it never ends well. He grabs your chin, forces your face toward him. His fingers are greasy. His breath smells like fermented milk and raw onion. He studies your eyes. You wonder what he sees. He lets go. Stands up, spits on your back and walks away. You take that as permission to live a few minutes longer. You roll over, lift the salt and rejoin the line. No one helps. No one ever helps. It's not cruelty. It's math. You help someone, you fall behind. You fall behind, you become scenery. You march for hours without seeing anything but feet and dust and misery. You lose track of time again. The shadows grow longer. That means evening. You've made it to evening. Your reward is cold. You can already feel it sneaking in beneath your tunic, into your sores, curling up your spine like a parasite. The sun dips lower, and the temperature crashes like a dropped stone. You can hear the wind picking up again, carrying with it the smell of distant rot. Maybe a dead beast. Maybe a dead man. Maybe both. You march until the guards whistle and throw down their stakes. Camp. You barely register the word. You collapse again. Harder this time. You land on a sharp rock that punches into your hip. You don't move. Don't pull it out. It's not worth the energy. You watch as the others settle, dragging their bricks into small, miserable heaps and curling around them like lovers. One man is shaking violently. Someone else is whispering a prayer to a god who's clearly on vacation. You start to laugh. You can't help it. It's not a happy laugh. It's the kind that bubbles up from your stomach like acid, dry and cracked and pitiful. You laugh until it turns into a cough. The cough becomes a wheeze. The wheeze becomes silence. Your chest aches. Your ribs feel loose. You taste blood again. You lean forward and spit. It's black this time. You stare at it. Consider it. Then wipe your mouth and close your eyes. You open them again a moment later. The fire is lit. You didn't see it happen. You didn't hear it either. The guards are roasting something. Meat. Real meat. Not the usual moldy barley mash or bits of spoiled dried fish. You smell lamb. Your stomach contracts. You crawl toward the scent. No shame. No dignity. You don't beg. You just inch forward like a dog that's forgotten how to be a man. One of the guards sees you. He smiles. Then he tosses something at your feet. It's not lamb. It's a bone. Picked clean. But there's some fat left. Maybe. You snatch it up, shove it into your mouth, and chew like it matters. It doesn't, but your brain thinks it does, so it releases something, dopamine, endorphins, a hope. You savor the illusion. You lick the bone dry. Someone nearby dies. Quietly. Just a final breath. Then nothing. The guards don't move. The others don't move. You don't move. You just keep licking the bone until it's warm with your own spit. Night falls. You lie back and stare at the stars again. You still hate them. They're beautiful, yes, but so indifferent. You imagine they watched you be born. You imagine they'll watch you die, and they won't blink. You think about your infection. The wound under your arm is hot now, swollen. Pus leaks down your ribs. You imagine it will spread. You imagine you'll wake up paralyzed or not at all. You close your eyes. You dream of salt, endless hills of it. You dream of carrying yourself, your own corpse. You wake up shivering. The wind has shifted. Cold now. Brutal. It slices through you like a knife. You pull your tunic tighter. It doesn't help. Nothing helps. You pull the salt bricks close again and curl around them. They're warm from the sun. That's something. You whisper to them. You pretend they're someone. You name them. You name one after your mother, one after your brother. You weep. Just a little. Then you stop. Then you sleep. For real this time. But not for long. Morning's already crawling across the sand. The fever hasn't peaked. The wound hasn't drained. Your skin is still crawling with lice. And tomorrow, you'll learn what happens when your body starts to rot faster than you can walk. You think this was suffering. Wait, you've only just started to die. Part 4. Labor ownership and dehumanization. You wake up to the sound of bones snapping. Not yours, at least not this time. Someone close. The noise is unmistakable, like breaking dried sticks in a dead orchard. You don't open your eyes right away. You've learned that seeing isn't always worth it. Sound is softer. It doesn't punch your brain the way light does. But the screaming that follows forces you upright, groaning, squinting into a sky that hasn't even warmed yet. It's still grey, still cold, still merciful. In the way an executioner might pause before raising the blade. A young man is writhing in the sand, his leg bent the wrong way. You recognize the look, the hollow-eyed horror of someone who knows he's not useful anymore. The guards haven't noticed yet, but they will. And when they do, it won't be a conversation. It'll be a decision. You've seen this before. A limp means wasted rations. Wasted rations mean punishment. And punishment out here often means subtraction. You look away, not to be cruel, to be efficient. Your own body's falling apart slowly enough without dragging someone else's doom into your focus. Your shoulder is hot again. The wound from the rope infection is now a deep crater of angry flesh, leaking yellow warmth that clings to your skin. Your tunic is fused to the mess. And when you peel it back, you hear that soft, sticky noise you've come to dread, like unwrapping meat that's been forgotten in a cellar. You pull it off anyway. You have to. You have to keep moving. You press a handful of sand to it, coarse, gritty, cruel, and hold your breath as the burn stabs through you. You want to scream, but you don't. You can't afford to. You've rationed your voice to essentials only. Begging, gasping, praying, and even those are slipping from the list. The salt bricks go back onto your spine like a pair of fists. You cinch them tighter today. Not because you want to, but because you have to. The load keeps shifting when you walk now, and the motion chafes new wounds into old ones. You learned yesterday that keeping it still actually hurts less. You never thought you'd learn to tie your own noose more comfortably. You join the line. The limp man hasn't moved. You step over him, and so does the woman behind you. He tries to call out. His voice is wet with panic. You hear the hoofbeats behind you. A guard dismounts. There's no conversation, just a short, sharp command. The sound of a blade, then silence. You don't turn around. You don't flinch. This is just part of the routine now. It's like the call of a bell at the temple. It signals the start of the shift. You march. The sun rises fast today, leaping from the horizon like it's late to something. Within minutes, the temperature goes from cold to cruel. Your skin cracks in protest, lips splitting like bark feet, swelling against the bonds of dirty cloth and makeshift sandals. You're walking with more than pain now. You're walking with disease, infection, damage. You feel the tremble in your left leg, the wobble in your right. Your balance is going. Your bones ache in places you didn't know you had bones. Your mouth is dry drier than sand. You try to spit, but nothing comes out. You haven't peed in 2 days, maybe 3. There's nothing left in you. You're hollow. You're a husk. You're a vessel for salt, disease, and punishment. Somewhere along the way, you stopped being a person. You're not sure when. Maybe the first time you were whipped for walking too slow. Maybe the third time you watched someone die and didn't blink. Maybe it was the lice, or the loss of your name. You try to remember your name now. You can't. You remember a sound, a syllable. Was it Sahara? You give up. Names are luxuries. You walk through a cloud of flies. They're everywhere today, thick in the air, like smoke. One lands in your eye. You blink it out. Another crawls into your mouth. You gag, spit, stumble. The salt shifts. You lurch sideways and nearly fall. A guard sees. You brace for the whip, but it doesn't come. Not yet. He just stares at you like he's deciding whether you're worth it. You keep walking. A girl ahead of you collapses. Again, you've seen her fall before. Small, maybe 13, maybe older. It's hard to tell anymore. Her skin is tight against her bones. Her hair is falling out in tufts. Her hands are blistered. She stumbles, then drops, face in the sand. No movement. The guard doesn't even slow down. He just whistles. Another slave steps out of line, grabs her salt bricks, straps them over his own and keeps going. She doesn't move. You keep walking. The air smells different now. Sharper, like metal or blood. You see a man's back split open in a perfect red X. He got caught stealing a date pit from the feed sacks. The guards didn't kill him. They just made an example. The salt load is strapped across the wound, so each step grinds it deeper. He doesn't scream anymore. He just mutters, maybe prayers, maybe curses. Maybe he's describing a meal he once had. Roast lamb, garlic, wine. You're not sure which would be more comforting. You keep walking. The sun climbs. The pain climbs. Your thoughts scatter. You drift in and out of awareness. Sometimes the sand is under you. Sometimes it's inside you. Sometimes you feel like you're walking backward. Time loses meaning. Your body becomes the clock, and it's ticking towards 0. You reach a rest stop. A wide, flat plain between 2 broken hills where the wind doesn't touch, and the heat just squats in the dirt like a hungry beast. You collapse. You don't sit. You don't lower yourself. You fall. The salt bricks roll off your back and land beside you with a dull thud. Your arms are limp. Your face is in the dirt. You feel your pulse behind your eyes. Someone pours water onto your head. You flinch. It's too much. Too cold. Too fast. You lift your head and try to drink, but your throat won't open. You're choking on the miracle. Eventually, you manage a sip. One sip. You hold it on your tongue like it's sacred. Then you swallow. It hurts. Your whole body registers that moment like a bell tolling deep inside your bones. You're alive. Barely. For now. The guards allow a longer break today. They know what's coming. You do too. You've seen the terrain change. Rocks on the horizon. Hills. That means elevation. That means climbs. That means more pain than you've been asked to endure before. And that's saying something. The signal comes. Salt back on. Formation returns. You begin the next stretch. The ground turns rough coarse with jagged stone poking through the sand. Your feet bleed again. You bite your lip. The blood tastes cleaner than the water. You walk. You keep walking because there's nothing else to do. You are not free. You are not strong. You are not human. You are labor. You are damage in motion. You are a line item in someone else's ledger. And somewhere, miles from here, someone is counting the bricks you carry and adding the profit to a column under their name. You think this was the worst of it? Wait until you feel what it's like to work with no skin left on your hands, with bones showing through. Wait until they put you in the mines. Yes, there are mines. You didn't think this march was the whole journey, did you? Oh no, this is just the commute. The real nightmare is waiting underground, and you're not even there yet. The rocks get worse. At first, they're scattered, just jagged teeth peeking through the sand, the occasional stone to trip over or bruise your soul. Then they thicken, clumping together into rough, uneven patches that grind against your feet like tiny, angry gods. You try stepping around them, but there's no escape. The ground here isn't just cruel, it's intentional. Like the earth itself wants you gone. The salt bricks shift with every uneven step, tugging at your back, pulling your spine sideways. You hunch instinctively, not from fatigue this time, but to keep the load from rolling off your shoulders. You've developed a kind of sixth sense for balance. A miserable, twitchy awareness of weight and tilt and pain. Too far forward and you stumble, too far back, and the rope digs into your collarbones where the skin has already worn away. The only thing holding your flesh together is infection and dust. You think about sitting down, not to rest, just to quit. Let the pain settle, let the fever bloom, let the blood in your socks dry into glue and stiffen your legs into silence. But you don't, because you've seen what happens to the ones who sit down. They don't get back up. And if they do, they come back with missing teeth, or a broken wrist, or a limp. They'll carry into the next life. You step wrong. Again, a sharp edge slices across the ball of your foot, and suddenly there's blood hot and fast soaking through the rag you tied there last week. You bite your lip. Hard. You taste copper. You swallow it like it's broth. No noise. No whimper. Just more walking. Always more walking. The incline starts slow. Just a gentle rise like a bad joke being told in a whisper. You don't notice it until your calves begin to burn. Then your thighs. Then your lower back. You're climbing now. It's not a mountain. Not really. But out here, even a 10-degree slope feels like betrayal. The wind dies completely, and the heat pulls around you like soup. You can hear your own breathing. Harsh, staggered, like your lungs are fighting you. You try to take deeper breaths, but your ribs hurt. You think something might be cracked. You don't remember how. Maybe the fall. Maybe the fever. Maybe your body's just unraveling from the inside out. Someone stumbles ahead of you. A big man. The kind who used to scare you when this all began. His shoulders are wide, his hands thick. He was strong once, maybe even proud. Now he's drooling. He sways like a drunk and falls hard, the salt crashing onto his neck. He doesn't move. The guards don't stop. They barely glance. A smaller man takes his place, lifting both loads, now his own and the dead man's. He doesn't ask. He doesn't blink. That's the way of it now. You don't inherit names out here. You inherit burdens. The hill gets steeper. Your feet begin to slide backward with each step. You dig your toes in, desperate for purchase. The rocks tear into you. You can feel fresh wounds opening, mingling with old ones. The pus on your ankle has dried into a scab the size of your palm. It splits when you stretch, and the pain is sharp enough to make you see white for a second. You nearly fall. A guard shouts. You straighten. You keep moving. You reach a bend in the trail, and suddenly you can see it, the valley below. It should feel like victory, seeing how far you've climbed, but it doesn't. It just looks like a grave, a wide, empty grave carved into the earth by generations of suffering. You don't feel pride. You feel dread, because now you know there's more of this coming. Many more hills, many more valleys, and no end in sight. The descent is worse, steep, slick, covered in gravel that slides beneath your feet like broken promises. Your legs tremble with every step. Your knees wobble. You're not walking anymore. You're falling slowly, carefully, over and over, trying not to die before you're supposed to. A man ahead of you loses his footing. He tumbles down the slope screaming. The sound cuts off halfway. When you reach him, he's still twitching. His leg is bent sideways. Bone is showing. No one stops. You step over him. His blood stains your heel. The sun is behind you now. Low, long shadows stretch across the stones, and with them comes the cold. Fast, merciless. The heat disappears like a magician's trick, leaving your sweat to freeze in place. You shiver. Hard. Your muscles lock up. You want to collapse. You don't. You reach a plateau, flat, wide, scattered with dead shrubs and brittle roots. This is where you stop. Not by choice. The guards order it. You drop the salt. You fall beside it. You don't even try to cushion your fall. You hit the ground with your cheek and stay there. The sand is warm beneath the surface. That's something. You dig your fingers into it, searching for heat. You feel like an animal, a dying one. The fire is lit. The food is tossed out. Today's offering is porridge, if that's what you can call a bowl of lukewarm sludge, with bits of bark and bone floating in it. You eat it without thinking, without looking. You don't chew. You just swallow and pray. It doesn't come back up. Someone nearby does vomit. Loud. Violent. You glance over. They're curled in the sand, retching bile and blood. No one helps. The guards pretend not to notice. The fire crackles. The stars come out. You lie back and look at them. Your stomach full of something that might pass for food, and your body pulsing with pain. You try to remember what it was like to be clean, to be safe. You can't. You remember a face, a hand, a laugh, but they don't belong to anyone anymore. Not even you. You close your eyes. You drift. You dream of salt. Again. You dream of carrying it not on your back, but in your veins. You dream that your body is turning into a brick, dry white square. You're loaded onto someone else's shoulders. You scream, but it's silent, because salt doesn't speak. You wake up gasping. It's still dark. The fire's out. The wind's back, cold and sharp and full of broken voices. You huddle close to the salt. It's the only thing that holds any heat. You think it's ridiculous. You laugh. You cry. You stop. Morning will come soon. And with it, another hill, another mile, another chance to bleed. You think this is the job. You haven't even started working yet. Just wait. Just wait until they give you tools and send you underground. You think this life is hell. You haven't met the mine yet, but you will. Oh, you will. You don't hear the morning whistle. You feel it, the vibration in the ground, the shuffle of bodies, the way the air shifts when dozens of people rise in unison like dragged puppets. You open your eyes to darkness made of ash and cold to breath that smokes from your mouth like a warning to the ache in your joints announcing itself before you even move. You're still here. That's the first sin. You'd hoped quietly, numbly, that maybe the night would have claimed you, that the cold would settle in your chest like a stone and put out the last burning pieces of you. But the fire inside you still smolders. Not hope, not life, just inertia. You sit up. Everything hurts. The wound under your arm has turned into a sticky pulp, and now it clings to your tunic like a parasite. You pull it off in small jerks, biting your lip with each tear. No one watches. No one cares. Everyone is busy rearranging their pain into motion. The salt bricks sit beside you like old gods. You've begun to resent how familiar they've become. You know the texture of each one, the way they press into your spine, the little nicks in the rope that digs grooves into your shoulders. You hate them. You lift them. You strap them on. It doesn't matter what you want. The body moves even when the soul is rotting. That's the miracle, or the curse. The sky is still black as you line up. The guards bark less angry this morning, more mechanical. Their voices have lost edge. Maybe they're tired too. Maybe they're just bored. The caravan moves. You move. Everyone moves. Not because they're strong, because they've learned the truth stopping is worse. You pass the plateau and descend into a new basin. The sand changes color here, darker, denser, mixed with fine black dust that clings to your skin like judgment. The terrain flattens for a while. You think maybe that's a gift. It's not. It just means they're preparing you for something worse. And you were right to be suspicious. Around mid-morning, the mine appears. At first, it looks like a scar in the earth, a long, jagged split in the ground, with nothing but shadow at its center. Then you get closer and see the carts, the chains, the tools, and the men. Dozens of them emerging from the hole like ghosts coughing, dragging their limbs, eyes bloodshot and skin grey. You don't know where they're from. You don't ask. They don't look at you. Their faces are too broken for curiosity. You're herded toward a clearing near the mouth of the pit. The guards form a circle. You're told to drop your salt. You obey. The bricks land with a familiar thud. Then the assignment begins. Not all of you are chosen. Some are kept with the caravan. Some are told to keep moving. Others, like you, are pointed toward the mine entrance. You don't resist. You don't speak. You just walk down into the dark. The tunnel is tight and wet and smells like rust and sweat and something older, fouler, like death that's been left out too long. The air is thick. You can't see more than a few feet ahead. You walk with your hand on the wall, your fingers scraping the stone, your feet feeling for footholds like a blind man, learning to trust gravity again. The descent lasts forever. You pass torches lodged in the wall, their flames weak and coughing smoke. You pass men hauling baskets of salt rock, their backs warped, their legs shaking. You pass pools of water that aren't water, just sludge grey and slick and full of things that float when they shouldn't. At the bottom, you're given a pickaxe. It's too heavy. Your hands don't close properly around the handle. The infection in your palm has swollen your fingers into bruised sausages, stiff and glossy with pus. You grip anyway. You don't get instructions. You just get pointed at a wall. You swing. The first impact rattles your bones. You swing again. The pain shoots up your arms and lands in your teeth. By the 5th swing, you've lost all sense of rhythm. By the 10th, you've forgotten your own name again. The salt cracks slowly, not like the bricks. This salt is buried deep, resistant, tangled in the guts of the earth like it doesn't want to leave. It fights back. It splinters into shards that cut your face and fill your lungs. You keep swinging. Your breath comes in gasps now, shallow and wheezing. The fever helps. It numbs you, turns pain into something soft and distant. The hours blur. You lose track of the world above. The heat inside the mine is different. It's not like the sun, sharp and stabbing. It's a slow boil, a suffocating bath. You sweat again, for the first time in days. It pours down your back, stings your wounds, soaks your tunic. You wish you could stop. You wish you could sleep. You wish you could scream. But there's no room here for any of that. There's only the wall, the pickaxe, the salt, and your body grinding itself down with every swing. You don't remember stopping, but at some point, a hand pulls you back. A guard. You're done. For now. You're herded into a chamber, if you can call a hole in the rock. A chamber where you collapse beside a leaking pipe. The water trickles slowly. People fight over it. You don't. You just crawl closer, stick your mouth against the stone and suck. It tastes like rust and rot and old blood. It's the best thing you've tasted in weeks. You close your eyes. The darkness isn't new. It's always been with you. It lives in your chest now, in the folds of your brain. It whispers things. Sometimes cruel, sometimes gentle. Today it says nothing. It just holds you. A man beside you is moaning. His leg is gone. You didn't see how. You don't ask. Another is scratching at his neck, drawing blood, murmuring something about beetles under his skin. You don't look. You don't care. Your hands are trembling now. Your muscles spasming without command. Your stomach twists. You retch. Nothing comes out. You haven't eaten since yesterday's porridge. You haven't digested anything in days. You're becoming hollow again. That helps. Hollow things are lighter. You crawl to the wall and rest your head against it. The stone is warm. You whisper to it. You thank it. It listens better than people do. You sleep. Sort of. Your eyes close. Your mind opens. You see things. You're home. You're clean. You're wrapped in linen and lying beside someone who hums you a tune you don't recognize but understand. Then the tunnel shakes. The hum becomes a groan. Someone shouts. You're being pulled up. Back to the surface. Back to the salt. You blink against the light as you climb your legs, shaking, your eyes watering. The sun has set. The stars are waiting. You rejoin the others in silence. The fire is already lit. The porridge is already sour. You eat. You lie down. You wait. The salt bricks are back beside you, like old friends who never leave. Tomorrow you'll go deeper. Tomorrow the wall will fight harder. Tomorrow your arms might stop working. But tonight you rest. Not because you want to, because you have no choice. You think this is labor aids. Tomorrow they teach you how to carry salt with broken fingers, and you'll learn. You always do. Part 5. Order and violence. You wake up to a boot, pressed gently, not cruelly, just firmly against your ribs. The pressure is enough to stir you, but not enough to break anything. That's the tone of the day. Not merciful, not monstrous, just business. You open your eyes to see a guard silhouette blocking the early sun, his face unreadable, his mouth chewing something that smells like fennel and goat fat. He jerks his head. That's your cue. You sit up. Everything hurts. Nothing surprises you. Your joints feel like they've been glued together with dried blood. Your skin is tight with sweat, salt and scab. The wound beneath your arm, pulses with each heartbeat, its infection spreading tendrils through your shoulder and down into your chest like a map of failure. You can't lift your left hand today, but it doesn't matter. You don't need 2 arms to carry salt, just a spine and silence. You strap the bricks to your back. They're heavier today, not in weight and consequence. You feel them differently, like they've taken root in your nerves, feeding off your fatigue. You no longer carry them. They carry you. They define your shape now. You take your place in line. The sun hasn't broken fully over the horizon yet, but the heat is already moving in like a bad omen. A woman beside you is weeping softly, hands over her face. No one asks why. It could be anything. Her wounds, her children, the smell of herself, a memory that finally turned on her. You think about comforting her. You barely have enough strength to hold up your own misery. Sharing it feels impossible. The caravan starts moving. The guards don't speak. They don't need to. Everyone knows the routine. Walk, breathe, carry, bleed. Repeat. The ground today is flat, but deceptive patches of loose sand that suck at your feet. Broken shells of old stone huts half swallowed by dunes. Occasional bones poking out from the earth like history, trying to raise its hand. You wonder how long before your own bones join them. The sun rises higher. The heat tightens. It sits on your back like a second set of bricks. The soul begins to sweat. You can smell it, sharp, clean biting. It makes your lips crack just by breathing it in. Your mouth tastes like metal. You haven't spoken in hours. You might not speak again. A man to your right stumbles. His left foot gives out. You see it bend unnaturally. You hear something snap. He doesn't cry out. He just breathes sharply, like someone trying to catch a thought before it vanishes. He falls to one knee, then 2, then the ground. The guards watch. They wait. One finally walks over, kneels beside him. You can't hear what's said. Then the guard stands and slashes the rope off his salt load. The man is pulled out of the line and left there still breathing, but no longer relevant. Someone else picks up the bricks. You keep walking. That's the law here. Don't stop unless someone stops you. You crest a hill and see something unusual. A settlement. Not a city. Not even a village. Just a cluster of mud homes circled by a fence made of thorns and bones. Smoke rises from 3 fires. Children chase each other near the fence line. You feel something strange. It's not hope. It's not envy. It's awareness. You'd forgotten there were people who weren't you, who weren't part of this chain of rot and salt. As you pass, a child points. A girl, maybe 5, maybe 7. She says something to her mother, who pulls her away without looking at you. You see the child's eyes follow you until you're gone. You walk for another hour before the guards call for rest. You drop to the ground like a cut tree, salt still on your back. You don't even try to unstrap it. You just roll onto your side and close your eyes. You drift, not asleep, not awake. You hover. You listen to your breath. It's ragged. You wheeze once and it sounds wet. You know what that means. Your lungs are folding. Your chest is a dying animal in a trap. Water is passed around. You take your sip. It tastes like boiled leather. You drink it anyway. A guard approaches. He squats beside you. His voice is quiet, almost gentle. He says you've been noticed, that your strength has been recorded, that you're to be reassigned. You don't react. You don't have the energy to be curious. He tells you that today, you're not just carrying salt. You're collecting taxes. You blink. It takes a second to understand. You've seen this before. Groups sent out to extract tribute from smaller communities. Not money, not words. Goods, food, beasts. Sometimes people. You're one of them now. Not a soldier, not a collector. Just another body to carry the loot. They unstrap your salt bricks and load you with baskets. Empty now. But not for long. The group is smaller. 2 guards, 5 slaves. You among them. You walk back toward the village you passed earlier. You reach it just as the sun hits its peak. The heat is unbearable now. You feel your heartbeat in your throat. You feel your breath catch every other step. The village elder greets the guards with fear disguised as civility. He offers dates, dried fish, goatskin sacks of water. One of the guards nods. The exchange begins. You watch as the baskets fill. You take them onto your back. Not salt now. Millet. Nuts. Meat. It should be lighter, but it's not. Your body is failing. You can feel it in your joints, your fingers the back of your skull. The fever has found new places to nest. You begin to sway. One of the guards grabs you, steadies you, tells you to hold it together, tells you you're lucky. You don't feel lucky. The villagers don't look at you. They pretend you don't exist. One boy stares too long. His father slaps him. You wonder what he saw. You wonder what he thinks you are. You turn to leave, the weight on your back shifting again, the rope biting into your infected shoulder. You hiss. The pain spreads like flame. You walk, 1 foot at a time. The guards don't rush. They know the pace. They know you'll all make it. Or some of you will. The others are replaceable. You reach the main caravan by nightfall. The fire is already burning. The salt is waiting. You drop your load and sit. The pus from your shoulder has soaked through your tunic. The guard who noticed you before passes by. He tosses a scrap of meat at your feet. You blink. You don't thank him. You don't move. You just stare at the meat. It's real. It's warm. You eat it slowly like a ritual. It tastes like ashes and bone. But it's yours. You lie down. The stars are out. They say nothing. They never do. You close your eyes and feel the salt bricks settle beside you again. Your ribs throb. Your chest wheezes. You whisper your name. Just once. You think you remember it this time. You hold it on your tongue like a stone. You fall asleep with it. That's the only thing you own now. You think this was power. This was nothing. Wait until you have to enforce silence with your own hands. Wait until you're told to drag someone else by the neck. Wait until survival makes you a mirror of the men who ruined you. And worse, wait until it makes you good at it. You wake up before the whistle today. Not from sound, not from light, but from a feeling. An ache deeper than muscle, heavier than hunger. It's your chest. It tightens when you breathe. Not sharp like a knife, but dull like a warning. You sit up slow, unsure if gravity still wants you, and find that it does just enough to remind you that it's in charge. Your arms aren't working properly. Your left is useless, swollen and stiff from the festering wound near your shoulder. You move it and feel something shift beneath the skin. Something soft that shouldn't be soft. You stop touching it. Denial is a kind of medicine out here. You get to your knees. That takes effort. Everything does now. Even blinking feels like labor. You look around and realize something has changed. The others are quieter than usual. Fewer voices, fewer moans, fewer people. A space where someone should be. Someone who was coughing yesterday. Someone who stared too long at the sky. You don't ask where they went. You already know. The guards don't announce death. They just erase it. Like a mark on a wall scrubbed clean with spit and sand. You stand up. Slowly, salt bricks wait for you. But they're not the same. They've been freshly cut. You can tell by the way the edges shine, not dulled by sweat or time. New weight, new expectation. You lift them and feel your body protest immediately. Your knees sag. Your back screams. You don't respond. You just breathe. If you call that breathing. More like dragging air across a battlefield. You join the line. The guards don't even check anymore. They know who will march and who won't. The ones who won't are already gone. You don't think about them. You don't have room for ghosts. The caravan moves. The sky is overcast, a miracle by local standards. The heat still hums under the clouds, but the absence of the sun buys you an hour, maybe two, of slightly less suffering. The ground is hard here, cracked, sharp. You hear it scrape against your soles like sandpaper on old leather. You imagine what your feet look like now. You haven't seen them in days. You're not sure you want to. Your ankle is wrapped in cloth that smells like vinegar and pus. You know what's under it. A wound that's never going to close. A future amputation waiting for permission. You limp harder on that side, letting the weight shift to your right. But your right knee is weak too. There's no good side left. Just different versions of broken. A guard barks something and points ahead. You lift your eyes. A hill. Not steep, but long. Endless. You start climbing. Your balance is gone. You sway left, then right, like you're drunk on your own mortality. Every step drags your body forward like a corpse on a string. The salt bricks rub into your neck. One of them catches the edge of your spine and sends a shudder through your skull. You blink. The light changes. You see stars in the daylight. That can't be right. You squint. No, they're not stars. They're flies, swarming something on the side of the trail. You try not to look. You fail. It's a man, or what's left of him. His legs are gone. His eyes are open. His mouth too. His tongue is black and swollen, sticking out like it's trying to escape. No one moves him. He's off the path. That's all that matters. You pass. The buzzing fades. You keep climbing. You count your breaths now. Not because you want to, but because they're getting fewer. Each one hurts. Deep in your ribs. Something's wrong. You know that. You feel it. There's liquid where there should be air. A heaviness that doesn't go away. You cough. Something thick comes up. You don't look at it. You wipe it on your sleeve and keep walking. The sky begins to lighten. The sun burns through the clouds like it's angry at the delay. Heat returns, dragging sweat out of you like confession. The salt begins to melt slightly, and you can feel it bleeding into your open wounds. That's always the worst part, the sting. Like someone sprinkling knives across your back. You cry a little, not out loud, just a tear. One. It rolls down your cheek and disappears into the dust. You don't wipe it. You're saving your hands for walking. Eventually, you crest the hill and see the new camp. Different from the others. This one has structure. Posts. A shaded tent. A water trough. Something about it feels organized. That scares you. The guards split you off. You and 4 others. The rest keep walking. You don't ask why. You just follow. The new space is smaller. Cleaner. There are ropes hung like boundaries, and behind them tools. Picks, shovels, bags. You're told to wait. So you do. You lean against a post, knees trembling, and wait. A man appears. Not a guard. Someone different. Well-fed. Clothed in linen. His eyes scan you like you're a beast for sale. He speaks softly. You hear one word strong. You don't believe him. But that's not your choice. He picks 3 of you. Leaves the other 2. You don't know what happens to them. You never see them again. You follow. You're taken to a different mine. Smaller, narrower, more specific. Inside, the air is thick with heat and salt dust. You're handed a chisel. No pickaxe this time. You're told to carve, to break the salt clean. Not just haul it, shape it, prepare it. Someone teaches you, not with words, with blows, with gestures. You understand quickly. You always do. Your hands shake as you carve. The chisel digs into the wall with resistance. The salt here harder than anything you've felt before. Denser, purified, meant for trade, not preservation. Your job now is not just to suffer, it's to add value. You're part of the machine in a new way. You're trusted to touch the product. That makes you important. Important things get watched. The hours pass. You carve, you cough, you bleed, you breathe. You wish you didn't. Someone collapses beside you. A woman, thin as twine. Her hands are stained red from where the chisel slipped. She's not breathing. No one stops. Her chisel is taken by someone else. The salt absorbs her like it's used to this, like she was just one more flake to be processed. You keep carving. Your fingers blister again. Your fever spikes. You taste blood, but the wall yields, slowly. You cut a block clean. The guard nods. That's the reward. A nod. You want to laugh. You don't. You store the laugh inside somewhere beneath the bruises and bile. You work until your body stops. Not your mind. Your body. It just quits. You drop the chisel. You fall. The salt breaks your fall. You hear someone curse. Then everything fades. When you wake, it's night. You're outside. The stars are out again, those smug bastards. Your hands are tied. Lightly. A guard sits nearby. Watching. He doesn't speak. You don't ask. Your lips are cracked open. You can't form words. You're allowed water. One sip. Then another. It tastes like copper and dust. You drink it like it's holy. You lie back. The ropes are there to keep you from wandering. But you know better. You're not going anywhere. Not tonight. Not ever. You think this was elevation. This was just trust. Wait until they make you keep order. Wait until they hand you the whip. And you use it. And worse, you understand why. You don't sleep so much as drift in and out of awareness. Your mind sloshing in fever, your limbs too sore to remember they're yours. The rope around your wrist digs a soft groove into your skin, not tight enough to injure, but just snug enough to remind you that even unconscious, even useless, you're still property. The guard doesn't move. He just sits near the dying fire, sharpening something slowly with a stone. Maybe a blade, maybe a stick, maybe it's just a ritual. A way to pass the time while waiting for people like you to remember how to suffer upright. The stars overhead do what they always do. Look down and do nothing. You wonder if they've watched this happen 1,000 times. You wonder if they remember your name even though you've forgotten it. You close your eyes and try to remember the feeling of being clean. Not even comfortable, just clean. A breath of air that didn't taste like rot. A shirt that didn't stick to your wounds. A moment of stillness where your bones didn't grind against the burden of existing. But it's gone. That memory is too smooth now, too worn. You try to grab it and it slips like water. The sun comes up before you're ready. It always does, like it enjoys catching you off guard, naked and half-formed. The guard cuts your rope, not with ceremony, but with the same motion you might use to gut a fish. He tosses you a chunk of stale bread, hard as brick and gritty, with something that might be flour or dirt. You chew it anyway. Your teeth hurt. Your jaw clicks. You can feel one molar starting to rot from the inside. It smells wrong, but you eat. You always eat. Even when your body says no, your brain says yes, because hunger means you're still trying, and trying is what's kept you alive this long. They don't strap salt to you today. Not yet. Today you're sent back into the mine. Not to haul, not to dig, to watch. You're not alone. 3 others. One's barely conscious eyes fluttering in a way that says he's not long for this world. Another is sharp-eyed, lean, angry. You remember seeing him once before, arguing with a guard, losing. The third is a boy. Or he was once. Maybe 13 when he got here. Now he's ageless. They bring you into the narrow shaft and show you a new task. Discipline. The word hangs in the air like smoke. It's not shouted. It's not explained. Just expected. A man is dragged in front of you, screaming. You don't know what he did. Maybe he stole food. Maybe he collapsed. Maybe he spoke when he shouldn't have. It doesn't matter. He's made an example of. That's the point. The whip is placed in your hand. It's not clean. It smells like old blood and worse. The handle is sticky. The guard nods. You look at the man. He begged, not with words. He's too scared for that. But with his eyes. You recognize that look. You've worn it. A mirror held up to your past self. The whip is heavy. It feels foreign. Then it doesn't. Then it feels familiar. You swing. Not hard. Just enough to show you're willing. The guard doesn't stop you. The man cries out. You flinch. Then you do it again. And again. And again. Until the noise fades. Until your arm aches. Until the man stops moving. No one tells you to stop. You stop when you're done. The guard takes the whip back. Nods. Says nothing. You feel something leave you then. Something small, something sharp, like a splinter of soul detaching from the hole and sliding out your ribs. You don't cry. You don't puke. You just breathe. Shallow. Like maybe you'll drown if you take in too much of what you've become. They give you water. You drink it. They give you more bread. You chew it. You sit in the corner of the mine and stare at the wall until your vision fades to grey. You're allowed to rest. You've earned it, apparently. The boy next to you says nothing, but you can tell he saw. You can tell he knows. He's next. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But soon, he'll be handed the whip. And he'll do what you did. Because that's how it works. That's how they win. Not by breaking your body, but by turning it into a weapon. You drift in and out again. Your dream's a tangle of red and dust and salt. You see the man's face. You hear his breath. You feel the handle in your palm, warm and sticky. You wake with your hands clenched. You open them slowly. They hurt. Your skin's cracked across the knuckles. The infection in your shoulder is worse. You press it. It leaks. You don't stop it. You don't care. You're called again at midday. Not to whip. Not to carry. To teach. A new group. Fresh bodies. Sunburnt, but not yet salted. They smell like fear and vomit. And the outside world. You're told to show them how to carve. how to breathe through the dust, how to wrap their hands so the chisel doesn't eat through them by noon. You speak for the first time in days. Your voice is low, hoarse. It echoes like it doesn't recognize itself. They listen. Some of them nod. Some of them blink too slowly. One pukes. You keep going. You're efficient now. You've become useful. The guards trust you. That's worse than hate. Hate is honest. Trust is a chain wrapped in silk. You carve for them once more, your hands moving with a precision that feels like memory. The salt falls in clean lines. The new ones mimic you. Some do well, others fumble. One slices his palm open and cries. You tear a strip from your own rag and bind it without thinking. He looks at you like you're human. That's a mistake. You walk away. Night comes again. You lie beside the fire. You think about the man you whipped. You think about the boy who watched. You think about the faces that keep changing, and yours that stays the same. You think about how close you are to becoming the guard. You close your eyes. You whisper your name again. This time it feels wrong, like a coat that no longer fits. You fall asleep, wondering if anyone would say it at your grave. If you had a grave. You think this was control. Wait until they give you rations to divide. Wait until you have to choose who eats and who dies. Wait until you're the one they fear. And wait until you like it. Part 6. God spirits and rituals. They wake you up with a smile. That's how you know it's going to be bad. Not a warm smile, not a kind one. Just the smug, twitch-lipped curve of a man who knows something you don't. He doesn't say a word. Just kicks a puff of dust in your face and points to the horizon where the sun is still deciding whether it wants to show up today. You groan as you sit up. Your body no longer creaks, it scrapes. Every joint feels wrapped in rust. Every muscle stiff with dried sweat and regret. The wound under your arm is leaking again. Not blood this time, just thick yellow truth. It soaks through your tunic and cools in the morning air like old meat. You don't touch it. What would be the point? Your hands aren't clean. Your thoughts aren't either. The salt bricks are gone today. That should mean something. It doesn't. You know better now. When the weight is taken off your back, it's usually because they're about to put something heavier on your conscience. You stand. Slowly, you're getting better at pretending you're not broken. You stretch just enough to stay vertical, then follow the guard down the slope toward the tent with the red dye on the side, the one they use for the rituals. You've never been inside. No one comes out smiling. You pass the others. Some nod. Some look away. A few, the new ones, stare at you like you're important, like you have answers. You hate that the attention makes you feel taller. They bring you into the tent. It's dark inside, hot despite the early hour, and it smells like incense and meat that was once sacred, but is now just rotting. The priest is already there. He doesn't look up. He's kneeling, painting something on the floor with a brush made from hair. Human, you guess? You hope you're wrong. The symbols are red, wet, writhing in the firelight like they're alive. You don't ask what they mean. You've learned not to ask. They tell you anyway. He says the gods have been watching you, that they've seen your obedience, that they've seen your strength, that you've been chosen. You nod, because what else are you supposed to do? He doesn't wait for permission. He places a charm around your neck. It's sharp. Bone, maybe, or tooth. It cuts into your collar as he ties it. He murmurs something. You pretend it's a blessing. You know it's a command. They give you a bowl. Inside ashes, salt-crushed beetles and a single white pebble. He tells you to eat. You eat. It crunches like guilt. Your mouth goes dry. You swallow hard. It burns. Your eyes water. That's part of it. That's proof you're listening. They say nothing else. Just send you out. The light stings. The sun's up now, full and brutal, peeling the sky like fruit. You blink against it and walk back to the others. The charm around your neck pulls you forward like a leash. The new ones don't meet your eyes anymore. Good. That's better. That's cleaner. You find your post. Not in the line. Not in the mine. Near the fire. Near the books. Near the scales. You're no longer just a mule. You're a mouthpiece. A tool. A walking doctrine. A keeper of balance. And that means ritual. It means purity. It means punishment. Today's first victim, sorry offender, is brought before you by 2 guards. He's young. Too young. Maybe 16. maybe less. His eyes are wide with terror and pride, all mixed together, like he still believes this might be a test, a trick, something he can survive with the right words. The guards say he was caught hiding grain, enough for a handful, maybe more. You don't ask why. You don't need to. Hunger makes everyone a liar. You look down at the charm around your neck. You touch it. It bites into your finger. That's your signal. You nod. They tie him to the post. You're handed the rod. Not the whip, the rod. Wood heavy smooth from years of sweat and apology. You hesitate just a second too long. The guard coughs. You swing. The first strike cracks across his back with a sound that makes your stomach tighten. The second makes his knees shake. By the third, you stop feeling your arm. By the sixth, you stop hearing his voice. You don't stop until someone takes the rod away. Not because you want to, because that's the rule. You turn away as they carry him off. You try to feel something. You really do, but it's all numb now. A soft blur where the emotions used to be. You sit by the fire. They give you water. It tastes like dust and silence. The day goes on. More names are whispered. More faces brought forward. Some cry. Some fight. Some I beg. It doesn't change the outcome. The rituals must be performed. The gods must be honored. And you are their hands. Their voice. Their cudgel. You eat dried fish for lunch. It tastes like sadness. You chew slow, feeling the salt rub against your gums like sandpaper. You swallow hard. You think about the first time you begged for food. How much softer your mouth was then. How much louder. You were human then. Something in you dies when you realize you no longer are. The afternoon brings another task. A ceremony. A blessing for the new slaves. You line them up. You smear their faces with ash and spit and chant the words you were taught last night. You don't know what they mean. You don't need to. They sound important. They feel old. They stick in your throat like bones. One of the new ones faints. You keep chanting. They carry him out. You finish the rite and walk away. You sit by the fire again. You stare into it like it owes you answers. It doesn't. Nothing does. A child dies before sunset. Fever. The mother wails. You're told to quiet her. You do. Not with words. With your presence. With the charm. She sees it and stops screaming. She just stares. Her face folds in on itself. She doesn't cry. That's worse. You walk away before you have to watch her bury the body with her hands. The stars come again. Predictable. Cruel. You lie back and count them. 1, 2, 3. You stop. You don't need to know how many. They're just the same as you. Burning quietly far from mercy. You touch the charm again. You think this was holy. This was just the audition. Wait until they ask you to name the next one. Wait until your voice becomes law. Wait until mercy is something you're punished for even thinking about. And wait until you believe they're right. You're awake before the first sound. Before the breath of dawn curls across the camp. Before the smoke from the coals begins to rise. You lie there on your side cheek against warm dirt. The charm at your neck digging a shallow line into your throat. You haven't moved yet. Your limbs are stiff. Your shoulder pulses like it's been filled with hot mud, and your mouth tastes like iron and dust. You should be getting up. You know that. But there's a weight in your chest that's different from the bricks, from the hunger, from the fever. It's quieter, heavier. You can't name it. But it feels like something permanent has snapped loose inside you, and hasn't settled yet. You listen to the quiet. Somewhere nearby, someone is sobbing in their sleep. A low, trembling moan that probably started in a dream and never ended. Across the fire pit, someone else is already coughing deep and wet, like they're trying to turn their lungs inside out just to get free of them. The camp's beginning to stir that slow burn shuffle of bodies, waking up to another round of humiliation. The guards haven't called yet, but everyone knows the rhythm now. It's like your bones are tuned to it. You roll onto your back and stare at the sky. It's that brief moment where it's not quite dark, but not yet light, where the stars are still fading, but haven't fully surrendered. You count 4 of them, then you stop. Counting feels dangerous now. Counting means measuring. Measuring means caring. You sit up and the charm swings forward and taps your collarbone like a metronome. You clutch it without thinking the way a man clutches a knife hilt. It's warm from your body heat, sticky, where it's pressed against open skin. You don't remember the first time you touched it. But now it's become a reflex, like a prayer. You don't pray anymore, but you still do this. The fire is just coals now. You poke at them with a stick, watching the orange sparks pop and vanish. You think of all the people you've punished, all the names you didn't bother to learn, all the backs you've bloodied, all the faces you've watched sink into quiet submission. And you wonder briefly, treacherously, if there's still a version of you hiding in there somewhere. One that didn't agree to this, one that said no. But no one says no here. The ones who do don't get mornings. They get holes. They get forgotten. You're told today is for cleansing. The word alone makes your skin itch. There's nothing clean about this place. Not the people, not the rules, not the gods. But they say the camp must be purified before the next convoy arrives. You're given a task. Select 10. 10 unworthy. 10 too weak to continue. Too sick. Too slow. Too forgettable. They don't tell you what will happen to them. They don't need to. You already know. They'll be marched out into the dunes. Told it's a relocation. A reassignment. And then they'll vanish. No witnesses. No ceremony. Just subtraction. You take the list. It's blank. That's the part that burns. They don't hand you names. They hand you power. They let you choose. You walk through the camp, eyes sharp, mind dull. Everyone looks the same now. Tired, sun-scorched, hollow. You recognize a few. One man you trained last week. He carved the salt better than most. One woman who shared her water with another when she thought no one saw. A child with hands too small for the tools he's expected to carry. You hesitate at each. You don't let it show. Your face is still. Your voice is steady. You write down names. You don't remember how your hand keeps moving, how the ink doesn't smudge, how your chest doesn't crack in half from the weight. You just keep going until you've written 10. Then you fold the list and hand it to the priest. He doesn't thank you. He doesn't look at it. He just nods and walks away. You watch as the 10 are gathered. Some cry. Some go quietly. Some look straight at you. Those are the worst. They don't curse. They don't plead. They just look like they expected it, like they understand. That look will never leave you. You'll carry it the way you used to carry salt-heavy, unforgiving sacred in its cruelty. The rest of the day is silence. Even the guards don't speak much. Maybe the gods are full. Maybe they're tired too. You sit by the fire stomach, cramping from the effort of doing nothing. You haven't eaten since yesterday. You don't feel hungry. You feel hollow. The kind of hollow that whistles when the wind blows through. A guard throws a strip of meat your way. It's burnt on one side, raw on the other. You eat it anyway. It tastes like regret, like victory, like everything you've learned to swallow. Night comes quickly. The stars are sharp tonight, almost aggressive. You lie on your back and wonder if they're watching you or waiting for you. You wonder if they judge, or if they're just another audience, silent and unmoved. You hear the priest chanting in the distance. He's somewhere out in the dunes, probably finishing the ritual. You imagine him lifting his hands to the gods, praising them for the purity of this place, for the obedience of his flock. You imagine the 10 kneeling in a row, their heads bowed not out of reverence, but from exhaustion. You imagine their last breath slipping quietly into the sand, and you wonder if that's not mercy. You close your eyes and feel the charm press into your throat again. You hold it tight. You think this was judgment. Wait. Tomorrow they teach you how to confess for others, how to name sins you didn't commit, how to condemn a stranger with your silence, and wait until you find out how good you've become at it. You don't start the morning on your feet. You start it on your knees, not in prayer, not in gratitude, just in the mechanical shiver of a body that can no longer pretend the earth isn't stronger. You're not sure how long you stayed that way, just kneeling there, swaying slightly, face pointed at the dirt, breathing in the warmth of something that isn't you. When you finally push up to stand, your arms don't help. They feel like dried ropes dangling from your shoulders. So you roll. You use momentum. You stumble upright like an animal getting used to legs it was never supposed to have. Your vision pulses at the edges. Your tongue feels swollen. The charm at your neck has imprinted itself into your collar, pressed deep into the layers of grime and half-healed flesh, until it's a part of you now like bone or guilt. You catch your breath and wait for the assignment. It doesn't come immediately. Today, it's different. There's a shift in the air. A kind of sick excitement crackling beneath the usual smell of piss and fire and dried blood. You feel it before you hear it. Something has arrived. Not someone. Something. A cart. A group. You catch pieces of conversation, whispers and rumors smeared together like grease on stone. A visitor. A tallyman. A judge. You don't know what they're here to count, but you know better than to think it's mercy. Nothing here is counted unless it's about to be cut. The guards are alert, tighter in posture, quieter in voice. Even the priest is upright robes, freshly dusted beard oiled with the dregs of someone else's rations. He looks cleaner than usual. You hate how threatening that feels. You're summoned before midday, not with a shout. With a look, one of the senior guards, the one with the grey stripe in his hair and the crooked finger from breaking someone's nose points, then nods. That's all. You follow. Your legs move. You don't question them anymore. They've been doing this longer than your mind has. They take you to the central tent, the one they only use when someone from outside comes in. You step through the flap and the air changes. It's cooler. It smells like parchment and something acidic vinegar maybe. You blink. Inside, sitting at a low table, is a man you've never seen before. Pale robes, straight spine, eyes like wet stone. He doesn't smile, doesn't speak, just gestures for you to sit. So you do. There's food on the table. Real food. Flatbread, olives, meat that hasn't been dried into jerky or boiled into despair. Your stomach clenches so hard you feel tears at the corners of your eyes. He offers none of it to you. That's not the point. He just lets it sit there between you like a wall. He finally speaks. His voice is low, measured, practiced. He tells you your name. The real one. The one you've been trying not to forget. It hits you like a rock to the chest. You try not to show it, but your mouth moves before you can stop it. That name hasn't been said out loud in weeks, maybe longer. Hearing it now feels like waking up during your own funeral. He smiles, just a little, like he expected that. Then he tells you why you're here. The camp is being assessed, not for supplies, for efficiency, for sustainability, for compliance. That means records. That means accountability. That means someone like you, someone, trusted someone, inside has to speak. He asks questions. How many die each week? How many break? How many recover? Who eats? Who steals? Who disobeys? He doesn't write anything down. He just listens, nods, asks again. Sometimes with different phrasing. Sometimes with sharper eyes. You answer. You don't lie. You don't have to. The truth is brutal enough to serve itself. You watch his expression never change. You want to shake him. You want to scream. You want him to react. But he's not here to feel. He's here to file. Eventually, he leans back and thanks you. He says you've done well, that the gods favor obedience. That reward is earned through consistency. That sin is just another kind of debt. Then he dismisses you, just like that. You step out of the tent and the sun hits you like punishment. You're blind for a moment. The light eats your vision. You stumble, catch yourself. People are watching. Not the guards. The workers. The ones who saw you go in. The ones who know what it means when someone like you comes out looking more hollow than usual. You feel the charm on your neck again. You want to rip it off. You want to scream. Instead you walk. You go back to your post. You sit. You stare. And you wait. The tallyman stays for 3 days. You see him each time he walks through the camp. Each time he speaks to the priest, or the guards, or the scribes. You see the calculations behind his eyes, the math of suffering. He counts everything. Footsteps, heartbeats, lies. By the time he leaves, 5 more people are gone. No ceremony. Just missing. Their names erased from the wall, their rations redistributed. You hear the priest say it's balance, that the gods reward the removal of excess. You nod, because you're still here. And that makes you excess's opposite. Night falls. You sit by the fire. Your hands are shaking. You can't hold the cup steady. Water spills down your chin and soaks your tunic. You laugh. Quiet. No one notices. You touch the charm again. It feels heavier now, like the truth of it is finally settling into your skin. You close your eyes and think about the questions, about the name, about the way your voice sounded when it answered. You think about the man who said it, how calm he was, how gentle, how surgical. You fall asleep with his voice still in your head. You dream of scales, of red dust, of numbers carved into bone. You dream that you are being measured, and that no matter how you shift your weight, you never balance out. You think this was loyalty. Wait, tomorrow they'll ask you to record who dreams too loudly, who limps too often, who has family. And wait until you realize the only way to save yourself is to forget them all. Part 7. The land is trying to kill you. You wake up coughing. It's deep this time, from somewhere below the lungs. A dry, rattling, bone-shaking convulsion that feels like it wants to turn you inside out. You sit up fast, too fast, and everything spins. The world tilts, color drains from the edges of your vision, and you brace yourself on the ground with trembling hands. The dust is damp from your breath. You wipe your mouth. There's blood. Not much, but enough to mean something. You stare at it like it betrayed you, like maybe if you don't blink it'll take it back. But it doesn't. The blood just sits there, sticky and red and dumb. The kind that smells like rotten iron. You don't panic. Not really. Panic was a luxury you burned through back in week 1. Now you just assess. Am I dying today or later? Do I still have a job to do? Will the priest notice if I limp a little more than usual? You get to your feet and start walking. Because your body remembers the schedule better than your mind does. You don't even think about it anymore, just forward. Forward is safe. Forward means they don't have to drag you. You pass the same bodies, the same eyes, the same stairs. You pass the girl with the limp who now works the rope line. You pass the man with the frostbitten fingers who sharpens tools with his teeth. You pass the child who hasn't spoken since his brother vanished 3 days ago. You pass the fire. You pass the pit. You pass the wall with names that aren't there anymore. You pass your own past like a ghost and never slow down. Because slowing down is when they notice. Slowing down is when you become something they have to fix. And you've learned what their version of fixing looks like. You report to the priest without being called. That's part of the role now. Anticipation. You make yourself useful. You make yourself loyal. You make yourself small. He doesn't look at you when he speaks. He just gestures to a stack of slates and tells you today's task is review. They've collected statements, incidents, notes of deviations, he calls them. You're to copy them into the official ledger, categorize, date, tag for severity. You nod, you sit, you take the stylus. Your hand cramps before the second entry. You push through it. You've pushed through worse. The slates tell stories no one was meant to tell. A man who spit into his food before anyone else could touch it. A woman who broke her fingers smashing rats in the grain sack. A boy who sang in his sleep. You don't think. You don't feel. You just write. You make their sins permanent. You transfer the weight of memory from their backs to the wall. And somehow that makes it cleaner. By midday your hand is bleeding. You wrap it with your sleeve and keep going. One of the guards brings you water. You don't thank him. That's not how things work anymore. You drink. You cough. More blood. You wipe it away before anyone sees. You start to shake just a little, but you tell yourself it's from thirst, from heat, from something fixable. You don't believe it, but it gets you through the next slate. When the list is done, the priest reads over your work. He doesn't smile, but his mouth twitches, like maybe it considered it and thought better of the idea. He tells you the gods see precision as praise, that your diligence has kept the camp's rhythm in tune. That truth is the highest form of worship. You nod. Your back is straight. You don't flinch when he blesses your charm with another smear of ash. You don't react when he presses his hand to your forehead and whispers a string of words that sound more like a curse than a prayer. You walk away without waiting to be dismissed. That's part of it now too. Initiative. On the way back to your post, someone collapses. You see it happen from the corner of your eye. A slow sag into the dirt, hands clutching at air. Then nothing. A woman, the one who fixed the water baskets last week. The one with the burn scars across her legs. A guard is already approaching. He's got that look. The one that means he's going to make an example. You step forward. You say her name. You say it like it matters. The guard pauses, blinks, then shrugs and walks away. You drag her to the shade. You don't speak. She doesn't either. Her eyes are full of dust and tears she's too dry to cry. You give her half your water. She drinks, not because she trusts you, because there's no other option. When she steadies, she looks at you. Really looks. You brace yourself for the question. Why, but she doesn't ask it. She just nods once, slow and tired, and turns away. That nod hits harder than a whip. You sit beside the fire until the sky darkens. You don't speak to anyone. You just stare at your hands. The skin is cracked red, the cuts black around the edges. You try to remember if that woman had ever smiled. If you had. If it matters, the priest comes to you at sundown, alone. That's rare. He sits beside you, not facing you, like a father too proud to show softness. He says a new group arrives tomorrow. 40 bodies, maybe more, all unprocessed, all unbroken. He says the gods require order, that the roots must be trimmed before the tree can grow. He asks if you're ready, not if you're willing, not if you're able, just ready. You say yes, because saying no doesn't stop anything. Because saying yes means you might get to choose who lives longer. You sit there long after he leaves the fire snapping in the dirt beside you. The stars coming back like they've forgotten everything that happened the night before. You whisper your name again, the one the tallyman used. It sounds like someone else. It doesn't belong to you. Not anymore. You touch the charm. It's warm, familiar, heavy. You think this was administration. This was only sorting. Wait until tomorrow when they hand you 40 names and tell you to decide which ones need to suffer first. Wait until they give you a title, and wait until you earn it. The new group arrives before sunrise. You're standing near the fire pit when the line of them crests the ridge 40, maybe 50 shapes moving in exhausted lockstep behind a mule cart, sagging with sacks and bones. The dust trailing behind them looks like smoke in the half-light. They don't speak. They don't cry. They just walk like they've already accepted something they haven't even been told yet. A few stagger. One falls. The guards don't pause. Neither do the other prisoners. The fallen woman pulls herself up after a moment, her limbs shaking like wet reeds, and re-enters the line without a word. That's how you know they've already been broken, just not yet assigned. You watch as the priest steps forward, robes clinging to his damp-skinned staff in hand like a weapon, and a scepter both. His voice rings out over the camp low and practiced a blend of blessing and warning. He names the gods, he names the rules. He doesn't name the people. That part's for you. You're given a slate, a stylus, a list of tasks. There are marks beside the names, birthplaces, suspected skills, punishments owed. Half the entries are guesses, the rest assumptions. You recognize this pattern now. They don't need you to understand them. They need you to fit them into the machine. You step forward and call the first name. A boy, maybe 15, covered in road dust and scabs, steps forward. You look at his hands. Soft. No calluses. He doesn't meet your eyes. You assign him to carry water, not because he's ready, because he has to be. The next is a woman with cracked lips and hollow cheeks. Her record says she was a baker once. You assign her to the fire pits. She flinches when the guard grabs her wrist, but she doesn't pull away. Good. That's good. You keep going, one by one, voice steady, heart quieter each time. You say names and pair them with chores like it's math, like it's not choosing fates. You try not to look too long at their faces. Faces make things harder. Faces remember. One man stands out. He's older, thick-shouldered, beard flecked with white. Not the kind you usually see come through. He looks at you like he knows you, like he's not afraid of you. That bothers you. You assign him to hauling. The guard raises an eyebrow, surprised. The man doesn't react, just nods and walks off, his eyes still locked on you. That look stays with you. Long after the others are gone, after the assignments are made, after the guards disperse, and the sun climbs higher into the sky. That man's stare clings to your memory like smoke. You try to shake it. You try to tell yourself it doesn't matter, but it does, because he didn't look broken. Not yet. And you know what happens to the ones who don't bend. You know who gets called when they need to be reshaped. By midday, the new ones are already being folded into the rhythm of the camp. The woman in the fire pit has burned her hand. The boy with the water slipped and spilled half the bucket. Both were dealt with, not harshly, not yet, but visibly, loud enough to echo. You watch from a distance. That's your role now. The overseer without the title, the executioner without the blade, the trusted one, the necessary one, the one they point to when they want others to know this place has rules. By late afternoon, the old man stumbles. You knew he would. Not because he's weak, because he's refusing to be. He drops the cart, doesn't apologize, doesn't rush, just stares at the salt bricks like they wronged him. A guard approaches. He raises the whip, and that's when the man does something you don't expect. He looks at you, straight through you, as if he's daring you, as if he's saying, go ahead, make me into one of you. You walk over, slowly, not fast. Fast would mean fear. You reach him and stop a few feet away. The guard steps back. This is your moment. This is your job. You ask his name. He gives it, calm, clear, a name from a city far away. A city you remember hearing about once, before this. You tell him the gods demand structure. He says he's seen men use gods like hammers. You tell him suffering is the price of survival. He says not all survival is worth it. Your hands are shaking. You don't let it show. You step closer. He doesn't move. You raise your hand, not to strike, just to touch the charm around your neck. It glints in the sun. A signal, a promise. He sees it. His mouth tightens. He drops his gaze, not in surrender, in choice. That's worse. You nod to the guard. The man is sent back to the line. No punishment. Not yet. But the message is sent. You watched him. You recorded him. He's on the list now. You sit by the fire that night and can't feel your hands. Not because they're cold. Because they're too full of choices you didn't know you were making. Too full of things you didn't say. The priest joins you. Doesn't speak. Just sits. He doesn't need to talk. You're both fluent in silence now. In implication. In the language of shared complicity. He hands you a strip of dried figs. It's sweet. Soft. The first kindness you've tasted in weeks. You chew slowly. Grateful. Ashamed. He tells you tomorrow's work will be more precise. That the gods need names carved, not just written. That permanence matters. He asks if you're ready. You say yes. Your voice cracks. He doesn't notice. Or he pretends not to. You watch the fire crackle and think of the old man's eyes. You think of the boy with the water. You think of the sound your own voice made when you said your name yesterday, and how foreign it felt. You touch the charm. You breathe. You sleep with your eyes open for a little while, just long enough to remember how it feels to pretend you still see. You think this was power. Wait until they teach you how to remove names from the wall. Wait until they ask you to erase someone so cleanly no one remembers they were ever here. And wait until you find out you already have. The morning feels wrong before you even open your eyes. The air is too still. The silence is too deep. No rustling, no coughing, no clatter of sandals against stone. Just breath yours. And the kind of quiet that usually comes right before the sky falls. You sit up slowly, letting the feeling of the ground anchor you. It's colder than usual. You can smell the dust, smell the smoke, but not the fire. That's the first thing missing. The fire. You look over and see only a pile of ash and the remains of a half-burnt fig branch. No embers, no warmth, no one tending it. You rise to your feet, knees cracking chest tight from the pressure that's been building for days inside your lungs like wet rope wound too tight. You take a step and your legs argue, but they move. They always move. You walk through the camp. The people are gathered but not moving, huddled in clumps. Heads down, eyes darting, no one speaking above a whisper. The air is thick with something you can't name but recognize instantly. Fear, not the usual kind. The everyday flavor that keeps you quiet and compliant. This is older, wilder, the kind that doesn't care who's in charge, the kind that knows something has changed. You follow the line of bodies to the edge of the quarry, where the priest is already standing. His robes are cleaner today, too clean. Pressed, as if he'd been expecting an inspection or a funeral. His face is hard to read. You've spent weeks studying every twitch in that face, every smirk and sigh and feigned expression of mercy. But this morning it's unreadable. blank like slate. The guards are behind him, more than usual. 4 new ones in fresh uniforms with sharper sandals and cleaner blades. That's when you understand. Someone important is coming, or already here. And this is a performance. You feel the charm at your neck grow heavier. You don't touch it. Not yet. You know enough now to let the story unfold before you try to edit the ending. The priest raises a hand and speaks. He talks about order, about obedience, about purity, and the will of the gods. But the words are different today. Stripped down, bleached of their usual syrup. These are not meant to soothe. They're meant to cleanse. Behind him, 2 prisoners are dragged forward. The woman from the fire pit, the old man from the hauling line, both bruised, both silent. The woman looks straight ahead. Her jaw is set like a blade. The old man looks at no one. You already know what this is. You don't need to be told, but the priest tells you anyway. Accusations, sabotage, whispered rebellion. They used words. They spread doubt. The priest calls it rot in the foundation. The guards call it treason. You call it inevitable. Your name is spoken, softly, but loud enough. You step forward. They give you the ledger, the stylus, the command, not just to record, to mark, to inscribe, to carve the verdict onto the wall, to make it permanent. That's the task now. Names aren't just tracked, they're decided. You walk slowly to the stone slab near the altar, the wall of names, of numbers, of labor days and lash counts and meal rations. You find the space beneath yesterday's entries. You scratch the stylus against the surface and carve her name first. Each stroke feels like a betrayal. The dust curls from the grooves like breath. Then his name. Your hand shakes. You tell yourself it's fatigue. It's not. You finish the inscription. Step back. The priest nods. The guards drag them to the execution pit. You've never stood this close before. You've heard it. The gasps. The silence. The thump. But now you see it. The edge. The drop. The way their bodies arch as they fall. The way they don't scream. They don't give the guards that. They give you silence instead. A silence that wraps around your ears and settles like a second skin. The priest thanks the gods. The crowd disperses. You're left staring at the wall, at their names, at your handwriting. You try to breathe and realize you've been holding it since the first name. You walk away slowly, but it feels like something of you stayed there, staring at those letters, something that won't come back. Later, when the priest finds you alone by the dried up well, he speaks softly, kindly almost, says you did the right thing, that your service is pleasing, that your judgment has earned notice from those above. He says the gods favor clarity, and now it's your turn to bring it to others. That's when he hands you the paint. Black ink, thick, permanent. You're to mark tents now. Mark the ones under scrutiny, the ones on watch, the ones whose names may soon be added to the stone. You don't ask questions. You just nod and take the brush. That night you mark 3 tents. One for a boy who hasn't spoken since his brother died. One for a woman who offered food to a limping man. One for the limping man himself. You don't knock. You don't announce. You just paint. A single black stroke wide and vertical on the fabric. Each time you finish, you stare at it for a moment, like it's a wound you've left behind. The people inside say nothing. They saw you coming. They knew what it meant. By the 3rd tent, your hand no longer shakes. You sleep beside the fire again, alone. No one joins you anymore. Even the guards keep their distance now. You stare at the stars. You don't count them. You just watch. One falls. You don't make a wish. You don't believe in that anymore. You think this was justice? Wait. Tomorrow they hand you the blade. Tomorrow they say it's your turn to remove the rot. And wait until your hand doesn't hesitate. Wait until it feels clean. Part 8. Food and water, or lack thereof. You don't start the day with a task. You start it with a ceremony. The sky is still purple when they wake you, still dreaming of stars and cold. But you're already moving, feet finding sandals, hands brushing dirt off your legs. Charm warm against your chest. No one speaks. The priest doesn't have to. His steps are enough. He walks through camp with a pace that says, follow. And people do because it's easier than thinking. You trail behind him down the worn path between the sleeping pits and the cookfire ruins. past the wall of names, past the execution pit. You've stopped flinching when you see it. Now it just looks like punctuation. You end here or you don't. That's the sentence. The crowd gathers fast. Not just guards, not just the chosen. Everyone, even the ones too broken to stand on their own, lean on others to watch. You spot the boy with the black mark on his tent, the woman with the shared bread. They're near the back, eyes hollow, waiting like this is weather, and they're trying to guess the wind. The priest lights the incense. He draws circles in the sand. You've seen this before. Twice. Once when someone was made a tallyman. Once when someone was promoted to watchman. Both are dead now. One from fever, one from fire. You think about that while he chants, while he smears ash down your arms, while he says the word for cleansing, and another for purpose, and finally the one you've been waiting for, authority. That word doesn't sit right in your mouth. It's too dry, too heavy. It doesn't belong to you, but they press it into your shoulders like salt. The priest hands you the blade, wrapped in leather, dull from years of use. Not ceremonial, not symbolic, just practical, just sharp enough. You unwrap it like it's fragile, like it might bite. And when you hold it in your hand, you feel the weight of everything it used to do. You feel everyone who's ever held it before. You feel the cold edge against your palm and wonder quietly if this is the last thing you'll ever hold. You raise it as instructed, not to strike, to show. It glints in the light. People avert their eyes. The priest names you, not by your real name, not anymore. That name's been filed away with your softness. He gives you a new one, short, harsh. You're told it means keeper. It doesn't. You know what it really means? Enforcer, divider, reminder. You nod. That's enough. The crowd breaks apart slowly like wet paper. You're left with the blade. The name, the charm at your neck pressing harder than ever. Your first assignment waits by the outer wall. A boy, maybe 17, slender, quick, smart eyes. The report says he's been trading shifts, bribing weaker workers for rations, skipping hours. Nothing dramatic, nothing public, but it's enough. It's recorded, and now it's yours. You don't speak to him. You don't ask why. You just take him by the wrist and lead him to the edge of camp. Not to the pit, not yet. You sit him down. You look him in the eyes. You tell him what the record says. You give him a choice, one hand or the pit. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't cry. He offers his hand like it's not even his. You hold the blade like you're someone else. Someone who hasn't watched someone's mouth curl around pain like it's a secret. Someone who hasn't seen how red spreads faster on dry skin. You do it clean, quick, one cut. He doesn't scream. You bind it. You walk him back. The priest watches the whole time. You can feel his eyes on your back. Judging, no. Measuring. Later, you're handed a new ledger. This one's heavier. Not with pages. With names. A different kind. One's not marked for punishment, but for promotion. Assistants. Runners. Recorders. You're to decide who gets trained. Who gets pulled from the pit and placed behind the wall. You wonder how that's punishment too. You sit by the fire and read each name twice. You choose the woman with the burn scars, the boy who spilled water, the man who stopped speaking after his brother vanished. Not because they're best, because they still have something human in them, and you want to see what the system does with that. You don't believe in redemption anymore, but you're curious about the shape of its absence. They start their training the next morning. You watch the woman as she wraps scrolls with fingers that still twitch from old burns. You watch the boy as he listens too fast, trying to anticipate orders like that might make them stop. You watch the man write down his own name for the first time in days, and you wonder if he'll keep doing it, just to prove he's still here. That night, the priest finds you again. This time, he sits across from you. He brings figs. You don't ask where they came from. You eat them slowly, chewing each one, like it might be the last fruit you'll ever taste. He tells you about balance, about cost, about how rot isn't always loud. Sometimes it hums, sometimes it smiles. He says your next test is coming. Not punishment, not duty, loyalty. That's the word he uses. It hangs in the air like smoke. You nod. You don't know what you're agreeing to, but you nod anyway. He leaves the blade with you. You sleep with it beside you. You don't dream. Or if you do, They're dreams too quiet to remember. You wake before dawn. You sharpen the blade. You eat dry bread. You don't bleed when your cracked lips split open. You tell yourself it's just wind. You look at the wall. The names are still there. Some you know. Some you put there. Some you buried. Some you wish you could forget. You touch the charm. It burns. You think this was initiation. Wait. Tomorrow they tell you to cut someone who trusts you. Wait until they ask you to smile while you do it. And wait until you don't hesitate. The day begins with no warning. No drumbeat. No whistle. Just the flat smack of a hand against canvas. And a voice telling you to get up. Not a guard's voice. Softer. Familiar. You open your eyes and see the boy. The one who spilled the water. The one you reassigned. The one who stopped shaking when you first looked him in the eye and didn't flinch. His face is different now. Thinner. Sharper. He doesn't speak again. Just nods and waits for you to stand. You do slowly, your joints clicking like cracked pottery. Your feet already angry before they even touch the ground. The blade at your side is tied loose this morning. Intentional. You're expected to use it. You both walk without speaking. Past the dying fire. Past the latrine trench that started to fill with the memory of people nobody mentions anymore. Past the new stretch of tents, freshly marked with more black strokes than you care to count. You reach the outer stockpile. Salt. Rope. Records. The priest is waiting there. Crouched near a shallow fire, stirring something in a cracked pot that smells like vinegar and boiled grain. He doesn't look up. He just says one word, today, and gestures to a wooden stool across from him. You sit. The boy stands nearby. The priest finally lifts his eyes. They're bloodshot from sleep or smoke or maybe something older. He tells you there's been a breach. Not physical, not structural, ideological. Someone has started spreading a list. Not the official ledger, a different one, handwritten, hushed, a tally of everyone who's disappeared, a memory passed in whispers. No accusations, he says, not yet, but memory, if left unchecked, becomes poison. You understand? He doesn't ask if you agree, he just hands you a sheet of names, 7 of them, all workers, all familiar, some more than others. One of them, the second you know too well. It's the woman with the burn scars, the one who never spoke unless necessary, the one who bandaged the boy's hand after the cart accident, the one who never looked away when you looked at her. You don't speak her name. You just fold the sheet. The priest nods, tells you it's your choice how. That's the test. He trusts your judgment. He says this without irony, without warmth, without hesitation. You stand. The boy follows. Not because he was told to, but because now he does. He's learning. The first name is easy. A scribe who always worked too fast, who always asked too many questions. You find him near the waterline. You pull him aside. You speak softly. You let him talk. Then you end it with a grip around his arm and a nod to the guards. They take him without struggle. He doesn't come back. The second name burns in your pocket. You try to ignore it. You try to focus on the others. A man who used to be a merchant. A girl who carves too well too fast, as if she still believes there's something to prove. Each one you approach with the same voice, the same expression, the same weightless calm you've taught yourself to wear like skin. They follow. They vanish. The 5th is already gone. Died in the mines 2 days ago. You make a note. The priest will adjust the ledger. That's what the ledger is now. A living thing, one that feeds on corrections. You stall before the 6th. You go to the fire. You sit. You eat nothing. The boy watches you. He says nothing. He knows better. Eventually, you rise and walk toward the quartermaster tent where she's stationed. You see her before she sees you. She's binding a sack with one good hand and one that still twitches when it gets cold. Her face is calm. She hums to herself, a tune you've heard before but don't know the name of. When she looks up, her eyes go straight to your hands. She sees the folded paper. She nods, like she already knew, like she's been waiting. You sit beside her. She doesn't move away. She offers you water. You take it. It tastes like something from before. You tell her what they said. She doesn't argue. She doesn't cry. She just listens. Then she speaks, not in defense, not to plead, just to ask one question. Do you believe them? You don't answer. Not out loud. You take the blade from your side. She looks at it, then at you, then back to her sack. She finishes tying the knot and sets it down gently beside her. She rolls up her sleeve, exposes the arm with the burn, holds it out. You stare at it like it's sacred. You want to look away. You don't. You raise the blade. She watches you. Her face doesn't change. You cut. Not deep. Not fatal. A mark. A memory. A warning. The priest didn't specify death. That was your decision to make. And for her, you chose to remember instead. She exhales slowly and wraps her own arm. You help. Not because it helps, because it means something. The boy watches. He doesn't ask why you spared her. He just files it away like a rule he'll need later. You move on. You report back. The priest asks nothing. You give him the folded paper with notes beside each name. He reads it. He nods. He tells you there's strength in discretion. Then he hands you a second list. Shorter, newer, fresh ink. One name. You know it. It's the boy, the one who followed. The one who hasn't spoken since the morning he brought you water. You stare at the name and feel the world shift under your feet. The priest watches you carefully now, waiting, measuring. You look up. You ask why. He smiles. You're ready, he says. You think this was trust. Wait. Tomorrow, they ask you to betray the only person who hasn't yet learned how. Wait until the blade doesn't shake, and wait until you realize you're not saving anyone. You're teaching them to live without being saved. You carry the name in your pocket like it weighs more than the blade at your side. The boy's name. The one who hasn't spoken since his brother disappeared, since you spared him from punishment and gave him something like direction, something like structure. He follows you because you never told him not to. Because in a place like this, loyalty blooms out of fear and starvation out of silence, mistaken for understanding. He's never asked for anything, never expected kindness, just stayed close enough to watch far enough not to be seen as a threat. And now he's on the list. One name, ink still wet. The priest didn't offer an explanation, didn't warn you, didn't instruct. Just handed it to you the way someone might offer water because it's time, because it's necessary. You sit by the wall pretending to review the labor records, while the paper sits in your palm like a command you never wanted to read. The fire cracks behind you. Someone coughs. Someone else whispers a name too soft to catch, but all of it is distant. All of it fades under the hum of what's been asked of you. You wonder if he knows, if he saw the way the priest watched him, if he caught that quiet narrowing of the eyes that always comes before a decision. Maybe he did. Or maybe he's too young to notice the way power moves. Maybe he still believes in the pattern you gave him, the one where obedience keeps you breathing, and silence is currency. You stand. Your knees creak. The blade at your hip taps against your thigh. You don't reach for it yet. Not yet. You find him sitting near the boundary line where the rocks are whiter from the salt, and the wind doesn't carry the smell of the latrines. He's stacking flat stones into little towers, not to pass time, but to measure it. That's what he told you once before he stopped talking. One stone for every hour survived. Some of his towers are taller than others. You don't interrupt. You sit beside him. He glances at you, then back to the stones. His face is sunburned and cracked at the lips. One hand is still bandaged from the old cartwheel. The other blackened at the nails from frostbite that never healed properly. You watch him build until the pile runs out. He doesn't move to start another. He just looks at the last stone, presses it into place, then turns to you. You open your mouth to say something, anything, but the words don't come. You've given 100 commands, spoken judgment like it was scripture, delivered orders with a flat voice and a hand on a blade, but now your throat is tight. The paper is heavier. He waits. Then he does something you didn't expect. He smiles, small, sad, like he already knows, like he's known all morning, maybe longer, and then he nods, just once, a slow, deliberate motion that says he's ready, or maybe just tired. You reach for the blade. Your fingers wrap the hilt, but your arm doesn't lift, not right away, not like it's supposed to, because something in you breaks then quietly, deeply, cleanly, like a thread, snapping beneath too much weight. You look down at the stone tower, his final one, the one with the flat top. You reach for it, hold it in your palm, feel the warmth of it from the sun, the smoothness of its edge. and you realize something. He didn't stack them for time. He stacked them for memory. Each one is a day, a moment, a refusal to vanish. You set the stone back. Then you stand. He stands with you. You don't take him to the priest. You take him to the ledger. You dip your stylus in ink. You cross out his name, slowly, deliberately. You write another name below it. One of the guards, a cruel one, a stupid one. Someone who missed a shift, who stole an extra ration, who insulted the priest's pronunciation last week. It doesn't matter if it's true. It just matters that it fits. You walk to the priest's tent before sunset. The boy doesn't follow. That's part of the deal now. He knows when to vanish. You hand the revised sheet to the priest. He reads it. His eyes flicker, but he says nothing. He nods. Good, he murmurs. You're learning discretion. You leave before he can ask questions, before he changes his mind, before he smells the lie. You sit by the fire that night, staring into the flame, feeling its heat on your face. But none of it touches the cold in your chest. You didn't save him. You traded him. One weight for another. One name for one more day. You tell yourself it's enough, that the blade stayed clean. That silence this time meant mercy. But in your bones you know the truth. You've stepped past the line. Not fallen. Stepped. Chosen. You've written names. Erased names. Shifted guilt like cargo. And now you know you can't go back. Not because they won't let you. Because you won't let yourself. You touch the charm around your neck. It's still warm. Still pressed into your skin like a seal. You press it harder. You think this was rebellion. Wait. Tomorrow someone else disappears and you'll be asked if you saw anything. And you'll say, no. Calm, steady, trusted. Because now you've learned the one rule that keeps you alive. You don't survive by remembering. You survive by becoming the one they ask to forget. Part 9. Torture, fear, and execution. The morning creeps in grey and windless. A stillness that sticks to your skin like damp cloth. You wake not because someone shouts or shakes you, but because something deep in your chest decides it's time. An old reflex. A survival alarm that doesn't need permission. Your eyes open to the same canvas roof, the same curled edges of worn leather, the same cold pressed into the dirt beneath your spine. You sit up slowly, and the movement feels like it costs more than it used to. Your knees crack, your back tightens, and your breath comes shallow. You rub your shoulder where the charm's leather cord has rubbed a permanent groove into your flesh. It's still there, pressed into your collarbone, like a scar that won't finish becoming one. You think about the list from yesterday, the name you erased, the name you replaced, the blade that stayed in its sheath, and the silence you've maintained like it's your new language. You think about the boy, wherever he is now, wherever he's learned to hide. You don't know if you bought him a week or a day. You just know he's not dead. And for now, that feels like something. You step outside and the camp is already moving. The shuffle of bodies, the slap of buckets against stone. The low murmurs of those still waking into the ritual of labor. The guards speak softer today, but that doesn't mean less violence. It just means more calculation. The priest is nowhere in sight. That's strange. He's usually by the altar at dawn, smearing ash, spitting prayers, eyeing the wall like he's waiting for it to bleed. Instead, dead. The guards gather near the outer edge of camp, near the path where the sand flattens out, and the markers thin. You walk toward them. Instinct guiding your steps more than command. As you get closer, you see the reason. A cart, small, covered, pulled by two men who don't look like they belong here. Their robes are cleaner. Not clean, but cleaner. Their hands less calloused. One has ink under his fingernails. The other, a chipped tooth that catches the light when he speaks. They're not priests, not guards, not workers, bureaucrats, messengers, the type who know how to disappear behind scrolls and signatures. They speak to the senior guard with urgency, low tones, sharp glances. You can't hear every word, but you catch the rhythm. Delivery, transfer, oversight, review. Then one of them points to you. The guard turns, calls you forward. You obey. You always obey. You stand beside the cart. One of the men opens it. Inside scrolls. Dozens of them. Maybe more. bound with red string stamped with wax seals that mean nothing to you. They hand you one, tell you it's your job now. These are records from other camps, other routes, other outposts. You are to transcribe them, cross-reference them with your own logs, and return inconsistencies to the priest for interpretation. It sounds simple. It never is. You nod. Take the scroll. They leave, just like that. You return to your station near the fire, roll out the reed mat, unbind the first scroll, and begin. The handwriting is tight, anxious, full of corrections and smudges. It tells stories without meaning to. A man who survived 40 days with no water ration. A child who vanished from the ledger after being transferred. A woman who was counted twice in the labor rolls, then not at all. Each entry is just a number, a note, a name, but together they hum with something dangerous truth, not the official kind, the kind that slips through cracks when no one's watching. You transcribe carefully, cleanly. You mark inconsistencies in red clay. You make notes on the edge of the parchment, and all the while your hands tremble, not from fear, from recognition, because the story these scrolls tell is the same one you're living, just further along, just quieter. The sun climbs. Sweat forms in the folds of your shirt. Your wound beneath the shoulder scabs over again. The charm sticks to your chest. You keep writing. Midday passes. You don't eat. You barely drink. By the time the priest returns, your eyes are bloodshot and your back is screaming. He stands over you silent, reading over your shoulder. He grunts once, then nods. He asks if you found anything worth correcting. You hand him 3 scrolls. He takes them without thanks, says nothing else, walks away. You sit there for another hour, fingers stained red, stomach hollow, head thick with facts that feel like ghosts. That night, there's a whisper, not a sound, a ripple, a message passed hand to hand, voice to ear, quiet enough to go unnoticed by anyone who isn't already listening. The boy, he's been spotted. Briefly, near the ridge, he was carrying something. Not food, not water, paper. You don't sleep. You wait by the wall until dawn, watching the camp shift and settle, watching the sky go from bruised purple to pink. You think this was just record keeping. Wait. Tomorrow, they tell you the scrolls are evidence. Tomorrow, they ask you to choose which version of history to burn. And wait until you realize the real weight isn't in what you write. It's in what you leave out. The next day begins with smoke. Not the thick kind that signals panic, but the soft, whispering kind. The kind that floats sideways through the tents before the sun has finished clawing its way over the hills. You smell it before you see it. A strange sweetness layered beneath the usual ash and sweat. And it clings to your nose like memory. You rise with it slow and quiet, trying not to draw attention, though you already know you're being watched. You always are now. Ever since the scrolls arrived, ever since the red clay started to run like blood down the sides of your ledger, you step outside and follow the scent your legs carrying you more out of curiosity than command, though the difference between those two things has grown smaller with every day. The fire is by the boundary marker, not a funeral pyre, not a signal, a controlled burn, documents, blank ones at first tossed in by a young assistant, with the kind of mechanical efficiency that only comes from fear, then older ones sealed cracked, dated. You recognize a few, not the content, but the creases, the texture, the way the wax split down the center when you opened them 2 nights ago. The priest stands nearby, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in assessment. You walk up and say nothing. You just watch. He finally turns and tells you the scrolls have been deemed redundant, that too many records confuse the will of the gods, that your ledger is sufficient now, streamlined, sanitized, pure. He says this with the tone of a man offering absolution, not orders. Then he smiles and places a hand on your shoulder right over the charm. It's warm. His hand, the charm, the moment. All of it too warm. You don't move. You don't speak. You just nod. And he walks away. The fire keeps burning. By noon, your hands stink of ash and wax. You've sorted scrolls all morning, separating what stays from what disappears. The difference is never clear. One line on a page, one extra name, One number too high gone. You burn it, and it's as if it never existed. You find one scroll with the boy's handwriting. Not signed, not marked, but you know it. The way he curled his Y's, the uneven spacing where his hand trembled. It's not an official scroll. It's a copy, a record of disappearances, a list you didn't authorize. Your throat tightens. You fold it and slip it beneath your tunic instead of tossing it into the fire. You tell yourself it's for safekeeping, for evidence. You don't admit its guilt. That night, you lie awake with the scroll pressed between your chest and the dirt. You read it over and over beneath the moonlight. There are 13 names. 6, you know. 2 you condemned. 1 you lied to save. You stare at the ink until the lines blur, and you wonder what name will appear there next. You close your eyes and see your own. The next morning brings a summons, not a casual call, a formal one. The priest sends a runner, a girl too young to understand the importance of her own footsteps. She tells you the tallyman is returning. You are to assist. You are to advise. You are to confirm. You're not already regretting it. The cart arrives before midday. The same one from before, often chipped-toothed messenger. Same pile of scrolls. This time, though, he's not alone. Another man steps down, older, thinner, wearing a red cord around his wrist that marks him as a scribe of judgment. His role is different, not to ask, to decide. He walks with a limp that doesn't slow him down. His eyes sweep the camp like a blade. You're told to meet him in the scribe's tent. You arrive early. He's already there. He gestures for you to sit. You do. He unrolls a fresh scroll. His stylus is already inked. He begins asking questions not just about records, but about loyalty behavior patterns. Who eats too little? Who sleeps too much? Who looks away when names are read aloud? You answer carefully. You lie once. He doesn't blink. You mention the boy, casually, testing. He tilts his head intrigued. He asks for more. You offer nothing. He nods. He writes. You're dismissed. But he doesn't stop watching. For the rest of the day you feel his eyes. Every time you walk the perimeter. Every time you pass the tents. Every time you pick up the stylus or wash your hands in the cracked bowl behind the ledger table. He's testing you. You don't know for what. That night, someone tries to run. A girl, maybe 16. You hear the alarm before you see her guards shouting, dogs barking, torches rising like stars made of fire. She doesn't make it far. They bring her back, face down, bleeding, her mouth full of dirt and defiance. The priest says nothing. The scribe does. He asks for you, personally. You stand beside the girl as she kneels. She's not crying, not even shivering, just staring at the fire like she wishes it would swallow her whole. The scribe hands you the blade. He tells you this one's not for the pit. It's for the wall, for memory, for message. You hesitate. The priest watches. The guards lean in. The fire crackles. You lower the blade, not to her throat, to her arm. A mark, not fatal, sharp, visible, permanent. She doesn't flinch. You bind it. The scribe raises an eyebrow, then nods. Later alone, the priest finds you. He says the gods are patient. That mercy has a shape, that you've chosen it well. You want to ask what happens when mercy runs out. You don't. You just nod. You walk back to your tent and unfold the scroll you hid. You add her name at the bottom, not to record her death, to remember her survival. You fold it carefully and place it under your sleeping mat. You lie down and stare at the ceiling. You think this was clarity. Wait. Tomorrow, they'll ask you to write history. Not what happened, but what should have happened. And wait until the lies start sounding more like truth than anything else you've ever said. The day begins without a sunrise. Just a slow unrolling of light through a sky the color of ash. Like the sun itself is ashamed to be seen today. You're already awake when the grey seeps into camp. You haven't slept, not really. Just lay there watching the canvas ripple in the windless silence. The hidden scroll pressed beneath your mat like a secret. You could still convince yourself you hadn't kept. You rise because that's what you do. There's no ceremony to it now. Your joints ache, your back cracks, your breath stings, but none of it stops you. Pain isn't an obstacle anymore. It's a background noise like the creaking of wood, or the low groan of the Mian walls. When the earth shifts its weight, You walk the perimeter. The camp is quieter today. Even the guards move differently. More eyes than voices, more stillness than command. The tallyman's assistant has been standing near the gate since dawn, scribbling something with quick jerks of his wrist, like he's trying to empty his mind faster than it can refill. The red-cord scribe from yesterday is nowhere to be seen. That should be comforting. It's not. You find the priest in the main tent bent over a small table with a fresh scroll rolled flat lines of text arranged in columns. He gestures you forward without speaking, dips his stylus in ink, and writes a single line across the top. Retrospective account verified by internal agent. You don't ask who the agent is. You already know. He tells you the scribe has requested an official historical record of the camp, something that can be used to illustrate progress. Not truth, not evidence, just story. Controlled, clean, palatable. You are to write it. Today, no delegation, no delay. The priest's voice is gentle but final. You nod, take the scroll, and a fresh read, and walk back to your mat, like you're carrying something sacred. When you sit, you stare at the blank parchment for a long time before you write the first word. You don't start with a date. You start with a lie. The kind of lie that tastes like medicine, bitter but familiar. You say the camp was established for order, that it preserved lives, that those who entered were given purpose. You write about structure. You write about offerings to the gods, about ritual, about labor that brings purity. You write about peace and obedience. You don't write about the salt bricks, or the blood-soaked robe, or the pit. You don't write about the boy, or the girl with the bandaged arm, or the priest's quiet nods that mean death is near. You write around them like building a fire where the truth can't breathe. Hours pass. The ink stains your fingers. Your eyes blur. Your neck stiffens. You keep writing. You write about improvements in efficiency. You write about how theft decreased after public discipline. You say the records were always accurate, that the camp was inspected regularly, that no one went unfed unless punishment required it. You include names, not the real ones, the ones they'd want to see, the loyal, the silent, the useful. You don't mention the others, the erased, the broken, the forgotten. They don't fit. The story needs balance, you tell yourself. Not justice, not truth, just balance. By evening, the scroll is full. 2 pages, dense, precise, beautiful, in a way that makes you hate yourself. You hold it in your lap like a confession. When the priest comes to collect it, you don't look at him. You hand it over with steady fingers and a stomach full of glass. He doesn't read it. He just smiles. The gods see your clarity, he says. That night, the girl with the fresh bandage approaches your fire. You don't speak at first. You don't know how she slipped past the eyes. Maybe she didn't. Maybe they let her. She sits across from you, wraps her arms around her knees and stares into the flames. Then she says, "It's done, isn't it?" You know what she means. The story. The erasure. The line you just carved into history so cleanly it shines. You nod. She doesn't ask to read it. She just nods back once slow like mourning. Then she gets up and walks away. You watch her go, and you realize something's changed. Not in her, in you. You don't feel powerful. You feel hollow. The scroll didn't buy you peace. It bought you distance. And distance out here is indistinguishable from death. You lie down without eating. The scroll still echoes behind your eyes. Every line a brick. Every omission a stone. You think this was authorship. Wait. Tomorrow they bring more scrolls. More questions. And they won't ask what happened. They'll ask what should be remembered. Wait until the only way to tell the truth is to bury it beneath something believable. And wait until you start to forget which parts you buried first. Part 10. The people around you. The air is heavier than usual when you wake, and it's not just the heat pressing its palm down on the back of your neck. It's the silence. A thick, bloated kind of stillness that swells in the space where normal sounds should be. No coughs. No shuffling. No clatter of buckets or the distant groan of rope over pulleys. Just breath. Yours. Labored, slow, reluctant. You blink your eyes open and find the world hasn't moved. But something underneath it has tilted. You feel it in your stomach first. In the place where hunger usually lives. But this isn't hunger. This is unease. You sit up too fast. and your vision swims a blur of beige and dust and shadow. You press your hand to the ground to keep from tipping over, and feel the scroll still buried under your mat. It's warm, damp, familiar now, like a second spine curled beneath you. You'd meant to burn it last night, or hide it deeper, but you didn't. You couldn't. You rise slowly, joints clicking, bones muttering threats. The charm around your neck sticks to your skin, half fused there by sweat and time. You don't bother peeling it loose. It belongs to you now, or maybe you belong to it. The fire is cold when you pass it. No one has relit it. That's strange. The coals are grey scattered, forgotten. The logs from last night half consumed, curled inwards like claws. You glance around. No priest. No guards. Just workers. Huddled near the edge of camp, their movements small and uncertain. You follow the shape of their fear to the main gate where a cart waits. Not like the others. This one is bigger, covered in thick cloth, and silent. Too silent. You step closer, your feet dragging lines through the dust, and catch the scent before the image registers. Rot. Not the usual kind. Not the scent of infection or sweat or meat left too long in the sun. This is deeper, fungal, old. The cloth is pulled back, and what's underneath makes your breath catch. Bodies, stacked, neat, uniform, wrapped in canvas marked with red. 10, maybe more. Faces, hidden feet bound, no wounds visible. No signs of violence, just stillness. Death arranged like paperwork. The priest steps out from behind the cart. His robe is stained darker than usual. His hands are clean. His eyes are sharp. He doesn't look at the bodies. He looks at you. He says, "The fever has arrived." You don't speak. You don't move. He continues, says the gods are watching. That purity must be preserved. That quarantine is sacred. That containment is salvation. He says your role is changing again. You are no longer just a recorder. You are the filter, the last wall. You are to observe, identify, and report. Anyone coughing, anyone sweating too much, too little, anyone pale, anyone slow, anyone touching too much, anyone keeping to themselves. You are to write it down and hand it to him. No questions, no exceptions. You nod, but the weight of it makes your knees bend. Not visibly, but enough. Enough that he sees. He smiles, then he turns and walks away. You look back at the cart. One of the feet twitches. Reflex. You hope so. The canvas is pulled tighter. You spend the day walking the camp, watching, recording. You write down names with ink that smells like mold. You draw small circles next to the ones who sat too long, who stared too hard, who didn't answer when spoken to. You try not to see them as people. You succeed. Mostly. One name stops your hand. It's the girl with the bandaged arm. She's not sick. She's just tired. But she sat with her head down too long this morning. Long enough to get noticed. You don't write her name. Not this time. You leave that space blank and move on. That night, the priest reads your notes. He raises an eyebrow. Only 7. You say yes. He nods. Says nothing. But the silence is louder than any accusation. Later, 2 guards visit your tent. They search it. Calmly. Efficiently. They find the hidden scroll under your mat. You don't fight. You don't speak. One of them reads it. He frowns. Hands it to the other. The second guard folds it and walks out. You expect to be beaten. Or dragged. Or erased. But they leave you there alone. Untouched. You don't know if that's mercy or something worse. You don't sleep. You lie awake with your heart in your throat, and the memory of names etched into the backs of your eyes. You wonder if the girl with the bandage will still be there in the morning. You wonder if you will. The fire is relit before dawn. The priest is already waiting. He says the fever is spreading, that you missed one, that the gods are displeased. He doesn't say what will happen next, just that it's your responsibility now. You think this was surveillance. Wait. Tomorrow, they tell you to mark the sick yourself. Wait until they give you the ink. Wait until the brush feels like a knife. And wait until you start hoping they don't look too healthy because the sick at least get remembered. The healthy just keep suffering. Quietly. Forever. The ink smells like iron. Not fresh blood older. Dried. Like the memory of a wound that's long since scabbed over. but never really healed. It clings to your fingers even after you wipe them against your tunic, smudging dark streaks across a shirt already ruined by weeks of sweat ash and unspoken guilt. The priest handed it to you just after dawn, along with a small brush carved from bone and horsehair wrapped in linen to hide the way it trembles in your grip. For the good of the camp, he said, mark the fevered before the gods mark them themselves. He didn't say what the mark meant. He didn't have to. The cart is still there, the one with the cloth pulled tight around the corpses. They haven't burned it yet. You think they're waiting to see how many more they'll need to stack. You carry the ink in a small clay pot tucked into a sling over your shoulder. The brush in your hand, the list of names in your head. There is no official order this time. No scroll to guide you. Just memory. Just judgment. You're told to use your own discretion. That's the most dangerous kind of power. The first person you mark is the man with the rasping breath. He doesn't protest. Doesn't ask why. He just lifts his sleeve when you approach, exposing a forearm crisscrossed with burns and healed over lash lines. You paint a small black X just above the elbow. The ink beads at first, then seeps into the skin, like it was always meant to be there. The second is a woman with cracked lips and eyes rimmed red. She's not coughing, not shivering, but her face is too pale and her movements too slow. You pause longer with her. You ask how she's feeling. She shrugs. Tired, she says, then quieter. But who isn't? You mark her anyway. She flinches when the brush touches her skin. You keep walking. By midday, your hand is steady. Too steady. You've marked 8. You haven't eaten. You haven't spoken more than 10 words. Your mouth is dry, your stomach a hollow drum. But your head is clear, too clear. That's how you know something is wrong. You find the boy again near the perimeter wall, stacking stones like he used to, but slower now. The towers are smaller, less balanced. He sees you coming and doesn't move, just watches. The same quiet eyes, the same unasked questions. You sit beside him. You don't bring out the brush. Not yet. He speaks first this time. Is it bad? You don't answer. Not with words. You reach out slowly, take his wrist, turn it over. He doesn't resist. His skin is warm, too warm. You close your eyes for a second and try to pretend that means nothing. That it's the sun, that it's exhaustion, that it's anything but what it is. You dip the brush. You hesitate. He sees it. It's okay, he says. And for the first time he smiles. Not the way someone does when they're happy, but the way someone does when they've decided they don't need hope anymore. You mark him. Lightly. Just once. A line, not an X. A compromise, though. No one will know what it means but you. He thanks you, then goes back to stacking stones. You walk away before he finishes. The rest of the day is a blur. People pretend not to notice the mark on your hands. Some flinch when they see you. Others beg. You try to shut it all out. You focus on the brush, the movement, the ink. You mark 13 more before the sun sets. At night, you rinse your hands in the basin behind the altar. The water turns black and smells like rot. The priest watches from a distance. He doesn't speak. You don't turn around. You lie down beside the fire that night, the pot of ink resting like a weight against your ribs. You don't sleep. You just stare at the stars and wonder how many of them burned out years ago, but still shine because no one's told them they're dead yet. You wonder how long it will take for you to stop shining. In the morning, 3 more bodies are carted to the edge of camp. 2 were marked. That one wasn't sick, they say, just exhausted. She collapsed in the line, didn't get up. No one called for help. No one noticed until it was too late. The priest blames the fever, says it clouds judgment, says it makes the living too careful, too quiet. He asks for more vigilance, more names. He doesn't mention the girls, not once. You do. You write it down in a small book you keep hidden inside your satchel. One no one knows about. A second ledger, a truer one. In it, you record the marked and the unmarked, the sick and the punished, the spared, the lost. You give them real names, even if you have to make them up. It's the only way you know how to keep them. You write in it before you sleep, your hand aching, your eyes burning. Sometimes you hear footsteps nearby when you do. You never look up. Not because you're not afraid, But because if it's the priest, you don't want him to see your face. You want him to wonder. You want the doubt to settle into his bones like the fever. You think this was mercy? Wait. Tomorrow, they hand you red ink. Tomorrow they tell you to mark the ones who've recovered, not to save them, to study them, and wait until you realize the red mark isn't a reprieve. It's a countdown. The red ink is thicker than the black, more reluctant. It clings to the brush like congealed blood. And when it dries, it flakes. The priest gives it to you without explanation. Just sets the small jar on the table beside the basin at dawn and says, use this for the ones who've passed through it. The ones the gods have spared. You don't ask what he means by spared. You already know it doesn't mean safe. It means watched. It means documented. It means next. The fever has slowed, or maybe it's hiding. No new bodies this morning, but no fewer whispers either. People don't speak openly anymore, not even when they think no one's listening. They mouth words, eyes darting hearts too loud in their chests. Everyone is waiting to see what the red mark means. No one wants it, not even the sick, especially not the sick. The boy sits by the well again, his arm still stained with your black line, now faded at the edges like old ink on dry parchment. He stops stacking stones, just traces circles in the dust with one finger over and over, never lifting it, never letting the line break. When he sees you, he looks at your hands. You haven't lifted the brush yet. He doesn't ask, but his eyes do. You sit beside him, close enough to feel the heat still coming off him. Though not as fiercely as before, he's getting better, but that's not always a blessing. You dip the brush. The red ink clings like guilt. You raise it. His arm stays out. He doesn't flinch this time. You mark him, a single dot on the shoulder. The priest didn't say where to place it, so you put it high, where it'll be visible, where no one can say they didn't know. He watches the dot dry, says nothing, just breathes. Then he nods. That nod is worse than words. You move on. The woman with the cracked lips is next. She's stronger now, carrying water again. You catch her behind the tents, pouring from one jar to another. With a steady hand, she sees you coming and sets the jars down before you ask. Do I get red now, she asks. You nod. She rolls up her sleeve. You mark her just above the elbow. She doesn't watch it dry. She stares past you, past the tents, past the wall to a place you'll never get to. What happens next, she asks. You say nothing. She doesn't ask again. By nightfall, 6 more wear the red, each one marked with a precision that feels obscene. You try to vary the placement, one on the back of a hand, one behind an ear, one on the neck, just below the jawline, just to remind yourself that you still have some control over how they're seen. It doesn't matter. The guards read red the same way every time. As permission, as priority, as a flag. The priest thanks you for your work, says you've helped slow the spread, says the gods are pleased. You think he's lying, or worse, you think he believes it. The fire burns low that night. You sit close, watching it collapse into itself ember by ember, like it's tired of pretending to be light. The boy joins you after everyone else is gone. His arm still bears the red. His face looks older. You wonder if yours does too. He doesn't speak at first, just stares into the coals. Then he asks if you remember your first mark. You nod. Of course you do. You remember the shape of it, the way the ink soaked in, the way the man didn't scream, but still managed to make a sound. You've never stopped hearing. The boy says, I think it would be easier if it hurt more. Then we'd know when it was over. You don't answer, because you don't know that it ever is. You write in your second ledger that night, add a new symbol, a red dot beside each black X. Not to track obedience, to track what comes after. To remind yourself that survival here is not an end. It's a new kind of sentence, one that starts with a mark and ends with disappearance. The priest begins calling morning meetings the next day. Only the red marked are invited. They gather in silence, seated in a circle, each one facing inward like spokes on a wheel with no hub. You stand at the edge. You're not asked to join. You're not told what's being said, but you're told to observe. You do. The meetings don't involve much talking, just glances, small rituals. The priest passes around a bowl filled with salt water, Each person dips their fingers in and presses them to their forehead. They leave with damp brows and dry eyes. By the third day, the bowl is replaced with a scroll, blank except for a single line at the top, the names of the willing. You don't know what they're volunteering for. You don't want to know. But you write down the names anyway, because that's what you've become. Not a witness, not even a participant, just the one who records the descent. The red mark begin disappearing after that, not all at once, not publicly, just gone. One each night, quietly, no alarm, no ceremony. You know it's coming when the fire doesn't get relit, when the guards stand closer together, when the priest doesn't meet your eyes. You start checking their tents in the mornings, empty, always clean, their blankets folded, their bowls stacked, like they packed themselves away neatly before being removed. The boy's still here, but for how long, you ask yourself that with every sunrise. Every time you see him across camp, red mark still visible, hands in his pockets, eyes locked on nothing. One morning you find him outside your tent. He hands you a folded strip of cloth inside the charm. The one you wore, the one he took when no one was looking. It's cracked, the leather frayed, the tooth dull. You'll need this more than me, he says. You try to give it back. He refuses. I'm not going to need anything, he says. Then he smiles and walks away. That night, his tent is empty. You sit by the fire with the charm in your hands and wonder if you were ever different from him, or if he just got there first. You think this was survival weight. Tomorrow, they stop asking for names. They start asking for beliefs, and wait until you realize you have none left to give. Part 11. The nightmare of night. The sky doesn't change anymore. It hangs there like bruised parchment, stiff and pale, as if it's forgotten how to breathe. You wake beneath it, without effort, without urgency, without expectation. Sleep is no longer a place you go. It's something that briefly washes over you like shallow water, before the next breath of dirt fills your nose. You blink, sit up, move, like you're pulling your limbs out of mud. You don't check for the boy's tent. You already know. It's been 3 days since he vanished. His stone piles are still there, scattered now, toppled by wind or time or someone else's carelessness. You didn't touch them. You couldn't, not because they mattered, because they were his. And that still means something, even if you don't know what. You carry the charm in your pocket now. You don't wear it. You tell yourself it's because the leather broke, that it's useless now. But really, it's because you can't feel it against your skin anymore. And you need to pretend that absence isn't your fault. The camp is quieter this morning. Not empty, just thinner. The gaps between tents are wider. The lines at the ration pit shorter. The guards don't shout as much. They don't need to. Fewer people mean fewer chances to be disappointed. The priest meets you near the wall of names. You haven't added to it in weeks, not visibly, but he still stands there every morning, eyes scanning for something that isn't written in ink. He tells you the next phase begins today. You don't ask what that means. He wouldn't answer anyway. He leads you to the inner tent, the one used only for communion, which is just another word for confession. There's a circle of stools inside, arranged like they're waiting for a ritual that was forgotten halfway through being invented. In the center, a bowl. This one filled not with salt water, but ash. Fine, cold, still. He tells you to sit. You do. He hands you a slate and a stylus. Today he says you ask the questions. You stare at the stylus like it's a blade. Then you look at the stool across from you, empty now. But not for long. One by one they enter, each of them red marked. Some you remember from weeks ago, others newly branded. They sit, they look at you. You don't know what to ask, so you begin simply, what do you believe? At first the answers are rote. I believe in the gods. I believe in order. I believe in the fire and the wall and the priest's voice. You write them down, neatly, carefully. Each one curls off your wrist like smoke. But then someone says, I believe I'm already dead, and you stop. You look up. You see her mid-30s sun-scarred lips cracked open but not trembling. She doesn't blink. I think I died the day I stopped asking why, she says. I just haven't had the dignity to stop breathing yet. You don't write that. You can't, but you remember it. The next one says nothing, just sits. stares at the ash bowl. When you repeat the question, he spits into it. That gets written down. After that, more answers. Stranger ones. I believe I was born here, and the memories I have are someone else's. I believe if I close my eyes long enough, I'll wake up somewhere cold and real. I believe you already know who's next. You record each phrase, each pause, each silence, and by dusk the slate is full. You hand it to the priest. He reads only the top line, then folds it into his robe without a word. That night, 3 tents are emptied. No one says anything. You find a rock beside your mat. Small, flat, perfectly round. You don't know who left it. Maybe no one did. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe not. You add it to the satchel beside the charm. You don't ask yourself why. The next morning you're told to ask again. This time to the unmarked. The ones who haven't been touched by fever or fire or ink. They answer differently. With fear. With overcompensation. I believe I'm useful. I believe I have not faltered. I believe I do not question. One breaks into tears halfway through. You let her finish. You don't record it. You start to notice patterns. The ones who answer too quickly are usually the ones who disappear first. The ones who pause, really pause, tend to survive a little longer. As if thought itself has become a kind of camouflage, the priest starts using new words. Purity, devotion, sacrifice. He says the fever was just the first trial, that the true test is spiritual, that the gods want clarity. That clarity requires culling. You don't argue, you just ask the questions. You record the answers, and then you forget them one by one, like pushing names into a river, until only the silence remains. You think this was confession? Wait, tomorrow they stop asking what you believe. They start asking who else does. And wait until you name someone just to save yourself and mean it. The bowl of ash has been replaced, not emptied, replaced. The new one is deeper, heavier, carved from black stone, veined with something that catches light, even when there isn't any. It sits on the same stool in the center of the same circle, and you sit before it again, stylus in one hand, slate in the other, pretending you haven't begun to hate the way your own name sounds inside your head. You're not called anything anymore, not by the priest, not by the guards, not even by the workers. When they look at you now, they don't see a person. They see the seat opposite the ash bowl. They see the hand that writes, the face that doesn't change. You've become the shadow they cast their truth into, hoping to hear nothing back. Today's question isn't yours to ask. The priest gives it to you softly, just before sunrise. His breath warm against your ear like an infection. Who else? That's it. 2 words, carved in stone, implied in fire. You don't ask what it means. You already know. It means names. It means accusations. It means the start of something you won't be able to walk away from. They file in one by one, the red marked, the ash touched, the ones who've lasted longer than they should. They sit. You ask, who else? Some answer immediately. They've been waiting, holding names like knives, aching for a reason to use them. One says the man with the burned leg, he speaks too much after dark. Another says, the girl with the white scarf. She prays in a language I don't know. You write it all, not because you believe it, but because it's your job. And jobs are what you have instead of beliefs now. A few hesitate. Eyes dart. Voices tremble. No one they whisper. You pause. Wait. Ask again. Who else? And sometimes, after a long silence, a name slips out anyway, even when it shouldn't, especially when it shouldn't. One man stares at the floor for a long time, then says his own name. You don't know what to do with that, so you write it too. The priest takes your slate before nightfall. He reads it slowly, his thumb smearing ash across the edge as he holds it. He doesn't look up, just says good. Keep pressing. That night, the circle doesn't meet. There's no fire, no conversation, just absence. You check the tents out of habit. 3 are missing, then 4, then 5. One had no mark at all. You sit on your mat with your knees pulled to your chest, and your hands clenched tight around the old chip charm you haven't worn in days. You want to forget the boy's face. You want to forget the girl with the burn scars. You want to forget your own reflection. But all you can remember is the sound people make when they say a name that isn't theirs, the way their throat clenches, the way their eyes change. The next morning, the priest says the wall of names is being reopened. Not for records, for affirmations. Write them yourself, he tells you. From memory. Who remains, who endures, who speaks without fear. You hesitate. He sees it. Fear, he says, is the root of falsehood. You return to the wall with your list. You write slowly, each name heavier than the last. You skip the ones you want to protect, but you know it won't matter. Their absences will say just as much. You add a few you aren't sure about, just to fill space, just to hide the omissions, just to make the whole thing look real. That night, 2 guards take you aside. They lead you to the edge of the quarry where the ground slopes into a low ravine. The priest is already there, standing beside a torch. A man kneels before him, hooded, bound. The guards hand you a scroll. You unroll it. One of the names is circled. You recognize the handwriting. It's yours. The priest hands you a knife. Not the same one from before. This one is polished, sharpened. You hold it, cold, solid. The kind of tool that doesn't ask questions. He tells you that mercy is a lie when it protects decay, that leadership demands proof, that this moment is your chance to be more than memory. You kneel. The man says nothing. You don't lift the hood. You don't speak. You press the blade to his throat. And for a second you feel the shape of his breath against the steel. He's not shaking. You are. But you steady. And you cut. The sound is quiet. A rush of air and blood and history. It's done. They take him. The priest claps your shoulder. Now they'll believe in you. You walk back to your tent. You wash your hands. You don't look at your face. The bowl of ash is still there the next morning. But now there's a mirror behind it. Just small enough to see your eyes. Just cruel enough to make you wonder who they belong to now. You sit. They enter. You ask. Who else you think this was absolution? Wait. Tomorrow, they ask you to stop recording the names entirely. Tomorrow, they ask you to remember them all and wait until you realize forgetting was the only mercy left. There's a smell in the air you haven't noticed before. Not exactly sweet, not exactly smoke, just unfamiliar, which is enough now to make your stomach tighten. You wake in the same spot, same mat, same hollow ache behind your ribs, but something's shifted. The sky looks flatter this morning. A lid closing slowly over the world. The air feels heavier. People speak in shorter sentences. Even the guards are quieter, more purposeful, like they know something the rest of you haven't been told yet. You dress. You don't need to be summoned anymore. You go to the tent on your own, past the fire that's never fully out, past the wall of names now, etched so deeply. The stone is beginning to wear thin. The ash bowl sits exactly where you left it. The mirror behind it hasn't moved either. You catch your reflection as you sit, just your eyes, just long enough. You start to wonder if they've always looked like that sharp, tired too. Still, today there's no stylus, no slate, just a small stack of scrolls wrapped in oilskin and tied with a thin black cord. The priest stands beside them waiting. When he speaks, it's not a command. It's something worse, a suggestion. No more writing, he says. We've learned what we needed to learn. You don't respond, not with words. Your body stiffens just enough to betray that you weren't expecting this. He continues. What remains must be remembered, not recorded. Written things can be burned, but memory that's sacred, that's survival. You stare at the scrolls. He picks one up, unties it, lets the parchment fall open in the dim light. Names, dozens. Some you know, some you marked, some you buried, some you spared. He holds it out to you. Learn them, he says, then burn it. The scroll is warm in your hands. You carry it out behind the tent to the small pit used for waste fires. You kneel beside it. You read each name aloud, lips barely moving, the words catching in your throat like ash. Then you touch the scroll to the coals. It smolders, curls, vanishes. You sit there long after it's gone, trying to remember all of them, every shape, every line. You get back to your tent and find another scroll waiting. No note, no seal, just names, all unfamiliar. That's the test. You're not being asked to identify them. You're being asked to carry them. By the third day, your memory is full of ghosts. They hover behind your eyes when you sleep. Whisper at the edge of your hearing. When someone calls your name, which they rarely do anymore. You start to forget your own meals, your own hours. You stop writing in your second ledger, not because you don't want to, but because the words no longer feel like they belong to you. The priest tells you this is clarity. When the burden is no longer external, he says that's when you become truly useful. You don't tell him you dream about the boy every night now. Not doing anything, just sitting, building the same tower over and over again with the same stone, never finishing, never looking up. One night, you find a red-marked woman sobbing quietly behind the latrine trench. She doesn't see you approach. When she does, she startles. Her eyes go wide, and you realize what she thinks you're going to do. She shows you her wrist before you ask. The red dot faded but still visible. "I'm not sick," she says. "I never was." You sit beside her, say nothing. She wipes her nose. "I told them names," she says. "Ones I wasn't sure about, just to stop the questions." She laughs then, and it's a horrible sound. And then they stopped asking. You close your eyes. You recite one of the names from the last scroll. She freezes. Then she nods. "I knew her," she says. "She braided my hair once." You write that down in your head, carefully. Tuck it away like something precious. Later that night, the priest gathers the marked in the center of camp. You stand at the edge of the circle watching. He speaks about the future, about renewal, about how forgetting is a form of obedience. Then he gestures to you. He remembers so we don't have to, he says. The crowd turns. Their eyes fall on you like judgment, like hope, like both. You say nothing. You just stand there, still, cold, burning. The next morning, your tent is empty. Not just bare gone. The mat, the basin, the satchel, the second ledger, all of it. In its place, a new scroll, a single name, yours. You unfold it with numb fingers. The ink is fresh, black, neat, final. Beneath it, a question. Will you carry yourself, or shall we? You stand in the center of camp with the scroll clutched tight in one hand and the charm in the other. The wind moves through your hair like breath. The fire crackles behind you. You think about saying no. You think about running. You think about screaming. You do none of those things. You walk, past the wall, past the ash bowl, past the priest who smiles and does not speak. You walk to the edge of the camp and out into the dry nothing beyond where the salt wind burns your throat and the sky offers no direction. You walk because it's the only thing left to do. You think this was memory. Wait. Tomorrow, there's no one left to remember you. And wait until you realize that's what you wanted all along. Part 12. The end of you. The wind doesn't greet you. It doesn't howl. It doesn't whisper secrets. It just exists scraping across the salt flats in wide, indifferent sweeps, flattening the landscape into something that looks more like forgetting than earth. You've been walking for hours, or maybe days, or maybe just one endless moment, stretched too thin to hold time anymore. There's no sun. Not really, just a white glow smeared across the top of the sky like someone tried to wipe the world clean and left a smudge. Your legs move automatically. Your feet bleed quietly. You don't look back. You don't need to. You know what's behind you. You carry it. Every name, every mark, every silence. Every time you said nothing when something would have mattered. Every time you said something when you should have stayed human. The charm swings against your chest again now. You tied it back around your neck. Not because it protects you, because it reminds you of him, of her, of all of them, of the firelight in their eyes, and the way their voices always dropped when they thought the guards were listening, of the girl with the bandaged arm, and the boy who stacked stones, and the woman who whispered to herself in the dark, and then vanished like smoke in a cracked bowl. You remember all of them, and because you do, you know what this walk is. It's not exile, it's ritual, the final rite. They don't bury the ones like you. They let the desert decide. You're past the edge of mapped territory now. The last ridge behind you dropped off with no trail, just loose gravel and the faint impression of footprints from others who walked this path before you. There were always others. You weren't the first to carry too many names. The wind shapes the land into curves that look like ribs, like the skeleton of something ancient that tried to stand and failed. There's no sound but your own breath, ragged and shallow. Even your thoughts have started to slow, like they're waiting to see if your body will finish what the system started. You don't cry. You haven't in a long time. Tears feel theatrical now, like they demand a witness. But there's no one here to applaud or condemn. Just dust, just sky. Just you. You stop when your legs give out, not when you want to. You drop to your knees in a shallow valley between two ridges and feel the grit grind into your skin like salt in an open wound. You let it. You stare at the horizon where nothing moves, and for a moment you think you see someone standing there, a figure, still, waiting, but when you blink it's gone. Just a rock, just the heat playing tricks. You lie down. The earth is warm, not comforting, just not cold. You pull the charm from your neck and hold it in your hand. You close your eyes and speak each name again. Everyone you marked, everyone you spared, everyone you lied for. You don't ask for forgiveness. You just say them, one by one, until you reach the end. Until your lips are dry, and your tongue is thick, and your breath is a whisper against your teeth. Then silence, then stillness, then the soft, distant sound of something cracking inside you, around you, beneath the skin of the sky. You open your eyes and see nothing, but it feels different. Like the world has shifted an inch to the left and left you behind. You sit up slowly. Your hands shake. Your throat burns. You laugh, quiet, crooked. You laugh because somehow you're still here. And that feels like the cruelest thing the gods have done yet. You get to your feet. You walk. Again, because that's what you've always done. Because there's no other shape for your body now but forward. Because maybe, just maybe, there's something out there past all this salt and sky. Not redemption, not home, but maybe a kind of absence that doesn't ask for anything more. You think this was the end. Wait, tomorrow, you find the edge of the map. And wait until you realize it was never meant to hold you. You don't know what time means anymore. The light doesn't change. The sky just remains a stretched canvas of sick white smeared with grey at the edges. A ceiling that hangs too low, as if someone forgot to finish building the world. Your legs move not because they want to, but because they remember. The muscle memory of motion is the last thing left that hasn't betrayed you. Your mouth is dry. Your skin cracks where the sun used to kiss, and now only scrapes. You haven't seen water in 2 days, maybe 3. You haven't seen life in longer. Even the wind seems to avoid this part of the desert. You pass stones carved by nothing but time, curved and split like ribs of long dead giants. You wonder if this land ever held oceans, if the bones beneath your feet once swam. You hope so. It's better to imagine a world that changed than one that was always like this. The charm swings again. You thought about leaving it behind, laying it gently in the dirt, like an offering or a surrender, but you couldn't. Not yet. Not while you still carry names. That's the one promise you haven't broken. Memory is all you have now. It's not clean. It's not linear. It stutters, doubles back, repeats. You remember the girl with the ash across her mouth, the one who whispered stories about stars no one else had seen. You remember the guard who flinched every time he gave an order, the boy and his stones, the woman who sang to herself in the dark and called it prayer, the priest, calm, unblinking voice like vinegar poured over scripture. You remember your own voice too, although it's quieter now, less certain. It's been weeks since it belonged to someone who asked why. There's a hill in the distance, barely a rise but enough. You climb it slowly, step by step, sweatless and shaking. When you reach the top, you see something that almost makes you stop breathing. Not a camp, not a village, a wall, endless, straight as judgment, rising from the earth like it grew there. It has no gate, no markings, no guards, just height and silence. You walk to it. You reach out, touch it. It's warm, but not from the sun, from something deeper. You lean your head against it, close your eyes and feel it hum. A low, deep vibration, like a voice that forgot how to speak, but still remembers how to grieve. You press your hand flat against the stone. You whisper a name, just one. The wall doesn't answer, but it holds it. You can feel that. You slide to the ground, back against the stone, eyes closed. Charm in your palm. You stay like that for a long time, breathing, thinking, not thinking. Somewhere in the distance, Wind returns. Not much. Just a brush of air across your face. Enough to make the dust stir. Enough to carry sound. You hear it faint, almost imagined. A bell. A single chime. Then silence again. You don't know what it means. You don't move. When your eyes open, the world is the same. The wall still stretches on forever. But now there's something else. A line scratched into the dirt before you. Not by your hand. You don't remember making it. But it's there. Straight. Clean. Like someone tried to mark a path or split the world in half. You stand. Slowly. The charm feels heavier now. Not as a burden. As a guide. You walk along the line. Not quickly. Not with purpose. Just with motion. You think maybe this is what comes next. Not survival, not death, but the echo between them. A place where you remember just enough to keep walking, but not enough to want to stop. You keep the names close. You say one with each step. The boy, the girl, the others, the ones you failed, the ones you didn't. You walk until the sun, or whatever passes for it, tilts just a little, casting the faintest shadow. You follow it, because a shadow means you're still here. You think this was the border wait. Tomorrow you cross it, and wait until you realize there's no map for where you're going. Only memory, only footsteps, only you. The line in the dirt stretches forward like it has somewhere to be. Like it's leading you to a place that finally has edges. A place that won't collapse when you press too hard against it. You follow it because you can't not. It's simple. It's deliberate. And that's more than you've had in a long time. The wall looms to your left, constant, silent, monolithic. No writing, no scenes, just a cold presence that pretends it isn't watching. You glance at it sometimes, as if it might nod or open or speak your name in that low voice it buried beneath the stone. But it never does. You walk anyway, because that's the only thing you know how to do now. The ground starts to shift. Not much. A soft rise, a change in the dirt. The texture of the salt less like ash, more like sand. You dig your foot in with each step, just to make sure the world is still solid. It is, but only just. You start to see things out of the corner of your eye. A tree that isn't there. A figure in the distance. A flicker of color where there should only be dust. You know it's your mind. You know it's the silence starting to talk back. Still you look, just in case. There's a moment, long and quiet, where the wind lifts and you swear you hear voices. Familiar ones, not words, just the rhythm of them. The cadence of someone remembering something too heavy to carry alone. You pause, close your eyes, let it wash through you like warm water down cracked skin. Then you whisper one name, and the wind changes. That's all, but it's enough. You keep going. The charm around your neck taps against your chest like a heartbeat you no longer trust. You wrap your hand around it, hold it still. It's warm again, but not from the sun. You know that feeling now. It's memory. Memory finally settling into something sharp enough to use. The wall curves. You didn't expect that. You thought it was endless. But here it is bending, turning, softening into something almost human. Ahead a door. No handle. No hinges. Just a rectangle carved into the stone, slightly recessed. Shadow kutuikikitin. You stop in front of it. Stare. It doesn't open. It doesn't glow. It doesn't do anything except exist. You sit down back to it. Eyes on the horizon. You stay like that for what might be hours, maybe longer. And then behind you a click. Not loud. Not mechanical. More like the sound a throat makes before it speaks. You turn. The door is open. Just a sliver. Just enough to suggest choice. You look at it. Then back at the desert. Then down at your hands. They're dirty. Calloused. Your fingers still stained with ink and salt and old blood. You remember the girl who smiled with cracked lips. The boy with the stone towers. The woman who said, "I believe I'm already dead." You remember their faces. Their names. Their silences. You stand. You don't look behind the door. You step through it. Whatever waits, it can't be worse than forgetting. On the other side, there's no bright light. No judgment. Just space. Room enough to keep walking. You take a breath. It tastes like dust. And maybe, just maybe, something green underneath. You take another step. Then another. Then you're gone. And now, It's time for you watching from your own soft world of blankets and blinking lights to rest. Close your eyes. Breathe deep. You've traveled far tonight. You've survived in ways that most don't even imagine. And tomorrow the world will still be here waiting patiently for you to rise. Whatever you're facing, whatever weight you carry, know this: you are not alone and you are not forgotten. Sleep well. Recharge. Dream of silence that heals and names that still matter. We'll see you in the morning, where your day will be steady, focused and good. Good night.